Hmm. Going live, going live, going live. Yeah. So I'm just doing some yoga, I just have to. If I start to sound a bit spaced out after 10 minutes, it's the yoga, okay? Once I did the yoga the yoga, I was doing a tarot reading for someone. I did the yoga, and it was some telemarketer, and she said, "Whoa, what have you been smoking? You sound really spaced out." But it's actually the yoga. The yoga can do it. So I'm just doing some stretches, and yeah, hello, Chantel. Yeah, hello, hello, hello. And yeah, I'm just gonna drink some tea and stuff. And yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So, how is everyone? How's everyone been doing? Is everyone good? Oh, thanks so much. Cheers. Yeah, this I got this from an op shop, and I bought it, and then I was and the staff member said, "Wow, Jungle Gym, Jungle Gym." So I watched Jungle Gym on the airplane, and I thought, yeah, that's an interesting show. Jungle Gym. It's about, you watch those old things from the 30s, and all the movies copied. All the movies copied. Yeah, yeah, just so interesting. Yeah. G'day, Afterthought. How you doing? Yeah, I wonder what time it is in USA. Who knows? Anyway, I got a bit of show and tell. Look at this. Look, I've got a National Geographic mate. It's Pith Helmet. That's right, it's Pith Helmet. G'day, Kukuai. Nice, from Toowoomba. Oh, cool. Nice, nice. That's up north, ain't it? Look at this. It's a National Geographic magazine from 1941. From 1941. G'day, Dallas. Hey, what do you think it is? Look, the story's a British West Indian interlude. West Indies links to in a defense chain. Martinique, Caribbean, question mark. Flame-feathered flamingos of Florida. Oh, that's a tongue twister. On the Jungle Gym. It's been done again and again and again, but it's sort of not in popularity. Maybe since the 50s and 60s was the last. Maybe the 80s was the last one they did Jungle Gym. Classic Greece merges into 1941 news, turning back time in the South Seas. Oh, by Tor Heyerdahl. Well, there's an article by Tor Heyerdahl, and on the back, it's got like these cans of different things, and they're saying, oh, look, you can all this stuff. It's in there. It's from a can. Whoa, I can't believe it. It's from a can. All this stuff. Wow. So that's incredible. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Amazing, eh? Just amazing. Anyway. So good morning, everyone. 8 a.m. VA, Vancouver. Hi, Simple Man. Hi, Kingfish Bob. Hey, Brenda. Yeah, thanks for you being. You know what? Thanks for you being here. Now I've got better lighting this time. I've got the light over there, just a fluoro light. I don't want to look at it too much. Maybe I should put it over here. Yeah, let's put it over here. That's right. Yeah, just put it like just there. That's the way. Good. Okay. So, right. Would you please speak in English? I'll do my best. Hi, Brent. UFO Daily from Elgin. Elgin, where's Elgin? Elgin Marbles. When are you doing the map video? Oh, the map video on that map. Yes, soon enough. Yes, thank you so much for that map as well. I really do appreciate that very much. Hey, Greedy Vegan. Hey, David. Hey, Colin. Oh, nice. Cool. You're in the bathroom at work, hiding from the bosses. Excellent. Hey, I've got more show and tell. Check this thing out. Look at this. It's I bought this for $20 at an op shop, and it's just made for the tourists in Mexico. And it's on the back it says Artes Mazas Mereda de Mexico, and I can't really read the rest. It's all been scratched out. It's pretty old, but this seems to be some kind of mold or plastic or something. And this is all the Mayan stuff, the Mayan green and gold scribbles, just like in the Book of Kells, green and gold on all their scribbles and stuff. And he's got a nose, and the nose is a bit shiny. It's been touched a lot. But yeah, there you go. Interesting, eh? Interesting little artifact. Yeah, cool. Hello, Dallas from Kentucky. Yeah. So Chantel, you're in England, home of the Pith Helmet. The Pith Helmet, it's got a good heritage to it. It's becoming a bit unpolitically correct. Who gives a damn? Mr. What's his face wears the Pith Helmet famously as well. Robert Schock on his website. So it's someone wants to be offended by it, they can be offended by. People have always been offended by my fashion choices as well, so that's fine. Yep, that's okay. God's elect would love to show me around Atlantis. Hey, anytime. I'll dial it up into the I'll ring up the travel agent and get out there to Atlantis. I said, I'm going to Atlantis. Let's get to Atlantis immediately. Right. So Noobster says, when I was inside the Sphinx, took a back and took the entry backside, and we were able to get about 4 meters in depth and 10 meters upstairs. Would you like to elaborate on that? That's really interesting. Did you get into the head? Did you see where you can hide up there in the head? Is there a link between the back and the head? I don't believe there is. I think it's separate, isn't it? Like there's a link into the front, into the head, and then for the back, it goes up into the body, and there's that little upstairs room up there and not much else. Nice, Bobby. Yeah, you're out back hiding from your wife. Cool. Yes. Oh, hi, Ancient Alternative View. Nice to see you. Yeah. And he says, cracking find with the British flag on your last video. Can't find the origin other than James I in the 1600s. All the best to you. So in the last video, the Mayan flag, on one of the, sorry, what am I talking about? In the Book of Kells, there was basically a British flag. So there was definitely the English cross. And then there was behind that was a blue cross. Now the Scottish is inverted. It's a blue background and a white cross, but it was so similar to the British flag that there had to be something going on, especially considering the fact it's 800 AD. So there's a whole lost history of the British flag that we don't know about. It's been eradicated. And I was really surprised when I was reading Matthew Paris, back when I was doing my PhD, I was reading Matthew Paris, a great English chronicler, unknown today, a constitutionalist. He was a nationalist English historian. He was really against the events of his day, which was selling England to the Pope in 1213. He was so against that. He was very pro-English, and he was saying, no, we have to take our country back. But anyway, what he was saying, what he did, he drew the heraldry, the shields, and the historians wrote, Matthew Paris in the 1200s was one of the first people, the first depictions we have of heraldry, of shields, and that really surprised me. You know, we actually don't have hardly any information about flags and shields and heraldry at all from the Middle Ages. Just a few pictures in books. The flags don't survive. They've all rotted away. Yeah, Bobby says, I'm offended by my own face. Lethal, yeah, hey, love your work. Yeah, I love you too, Lethal Outdoors. Yeah, stuff the PC. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, let someone else be offended. They want to be offended, whatever. Bobby says, I'm from Atlantis. Noobster says, send some photos if you also like. Could send some photos if you also like from Cicada. Hey, sure. My email is on my page, charlescoles.com. Lethal says, hey, what is exactly is Uluru Airs rock? You know, I don't know what it is, because that's the problem. It looks very unique. It's a very unique looking rock. So it's got a unique piece of geology there. Brenda says, I've been learning the runes now too. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, good on you, Brenda. Yeah, yeah. I got the mint tea. I got the teapot. Yeah. What else have I got? I've got like a lantern or something over here. Yeah, look at this. I've got a little just a little lantern. Yeah, that's for like going into the caves or whatever. Yeah. No, it's actually, it'll just be a light. I'll turn that into a light fitting. I'll just chop that off. Or there we go. Yeah. Rightio. So yeah. So g'day Wayne. Yeah. Awesome. 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 Noobster says Atlantis and Giza belongs directly together. That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting. Certainly. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, because Giza is very old. And Lethal says, yeah, lost history from 1600s to 1800s. There's so much lost history, you know. It's just remarkable. Paul says, hello, Dr. Charles. Do you think some of the monster faces in BOK look like sculptures off the Mayan statues? What's BOK? Bangkok? Yeah, the Asian stuff looks like Mayan stuff, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Jeffrey says, love the piff lid. Yeah, lid. That's an old, lid is an old vernacular for hat, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. David says, Zahi Hawass has stifled any real discoveries in Egypt for too long. I totally agree with you on that one. Mr. Hawass is, I think he's let his ego get in the way a little bit too much. And he's just gone in there and he said, look, I'm going to control the information coming out of Egypt. The information has to go through me. And to his credit, he's allowed a lot of investigations into the Great Pyramid. I mean, some people say he's holding back everything. He's not holding back everything. He's just, but there is a bureaucracy, and he represents that bureaucracy. And it is hard for people to do lots of research. It just sort of drips out, drip, 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 and it has to go through him. And seemingly, it still has to go through him, doesn't it? I mean, hasn't he reacquired his position of power in some way, or is he just doing tours or something now? I think has he changed his career or something like that? Isn't he doing tours? I saw an ad or something. He was doing tours or something. Yeah, yeah. So Chantel says, does Uluru have strange magnetic readings? I don't know. I really don't know. Hello, Baz. Bobby says, can you do a video about Sumerians and your thoughts on them? Yeah, the Sumerians, The Sumerians, well, obviously they're Hungarians. And, you know, if you look up Wikipedia, it says, no, it doesn't even mention the Han language. It doesn't mention it. Not at all. But the Sumerians are originally redheads, and they are the most redheaded of them are the Marsh Arabs, and you see redheads and blondes among them, and they're from Central Asia. They're the old Germanic tribes, and if you look at it on Wikipedia, it doesn't say anything about Hungarian language. If you look at skeptics, skeptic sites are actually really useful because they're ironically, they're fighting against these ideas, but secretly, like any hater, they're a fan. They're a secret fan of these ideas, and they collect all the ideas that we're interested in, and they list them all nicely for us, so we can actually get information about them. And they say, well, the Hungarian idea of Sumerian language must be wrong because it's only nationalist historians in Hungary who are pushing it. Well, of course, would a guy who doesn't speak Hungarian possibly push that theory if he doesn't speak the language? Of course he wouldn't. He would do his own stuff. So that's not a very good argument against the fact that it was Hungarian. Clearly, the Huns from Central Asia, Sumerians from Central Asia, possibly. There's a link there, right? Yeah. So, ancient alternative. Have you watched Ben Uncharted X latest? Some technological finds referring stonework, etc. Timelines he pushes back to 30,000 years ago. Do you think it's accurate or could go back further? Or much further? Uncharted X. I actually haven't seen that. I haven't watched his videos. That channel. I guess they're good though. I saw they have quite a few hits. So yeah, I guess they must be very good. But no, I've never seen that. No. But yeah, I think we're talking 120,000 to 130 to 100,000 was a warm period, and then it got cooler. It got cooler after that, guys. It got so cool, and after 30,000 years ago, we have a situation where catastrophes began raining down upon the earth, and there were some countries still technological, and the rest was Stone Age. Sort of like today, New Guinea is in the Stone Age today. You know, and no one dares go there. Not even aid workers will go there because it's, you know, yeah. There you go. So Jeffrey, so let's see what people are saying. So Baz says there was a cross instead of an ankh in one of the recent mummy discovery. It was visible in the early photos, and all subsequent ones had dirt sprinkled over it to hide it. Cross instead of an ankh in a recent mummy discovery. I'm not aware of that, but that's very interesting. Of course, they would have been making mummies until Roman times, and they would have been Christians too. Yeah. Jeffrey says, you've talked much about Celtic knotwork lately. Have you explored the significance of the colours used constructing them? Not really, but if you look at the colours in the Book of Kells, they're the same colours, the green, the orangey red. I think they're the same colors as the Kipu knots, the same colors. Bobby says, I think with the majority of archaeology is screwed up by man's egos. Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is. Ancient alternative, Egypt, by the way. The BOK was that same? Oh, Book of Kells. Book of Kells. Okay. So the question was earlier, hello Charles, do you think some of the monster faces in Book of Kells look like sculptures off the Mayan structures? Yeah, I think so, definitely. And also remember that there's gargoyles. The Mayans have gargoyles shooting out of the pyramids next to the staircase. The pyramid of Kukulkan, it's got a staircase, and next to it there's a gargoyle on each side, just like in medieval Europe. This has got to not be a coincidence. Ancient alternative. Yeah. Wayne says, thanks for your videos. Thanks very much for watching. Bobby says, I'm red hair and blue eyes. Nice. Lethal says, how good's the story of the Good Samaritan? Yeah, you know, I think the Good Samaritan is the Good Samaritan in Greek would be Christian Samaritan. Christos is good in Greek, isn't it? So I think so. I think the Samaritans were one of the branches of the Samaritans were the Christians, because you look at the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Sicarii, and you say, which one did Jesus belong to? And the historians say, well, the Essenes. And I'm saying, no, he weren't no monk. No, he was the Samaritan prophet. That's for sure. So they've really screwed that one up badly. Like, they're bonkers. These historians, they write about early Christianity, they're bonkers. How could he have been in a scene? And they say, oh, the Dead Sea Scrolls, early Christianity. So I read through the Dead Sea Scrolls expecting to see early Christianity. And there's nothing early Christianity in the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Essenes were a strong Jewish sect. Nothing early Christianity at all about the Essenes. Jesus is a different person. Anyway, what were we talking about? So Franz Liszt was Sumerian? I guess he was. Maybe. Yeah. Hello. Oh yeah, quiet again. Yeah, love you, knowledge. Thanks so much. Yeah. Yeah. So Afterthought says, oh, let's scroll. Egypt has been corrupt for far longer than any of our or Zahi's lifetimes. And you know what? Yeah, it's you know, I think it's a pretty bad place, actually. So I've never been there, but I would like to go there. Apparently, it's a bit better than the rest of the Middle East at the moment, I believe. Maybe one day. But I'd like to go Greece or Rome or something first. Someone says, can you do Coral Castle in USA? Not old, though. Never know. It might be old. I don't know. But Sid the Monkey one. Uluru is Earth belly button. Yeah, that's a nice one. Hey, Lloyd. Rodney says, are the Yazidis the descendants of the Sumerians? Yeah, I think that's the consensus, isn't it? The Yazidis are they are Sumerians. One of the was it Robert Temple or someone? Someone was saying that the Germanics are actually the original tribe of the Middle East. Was it Robert Temple or something like that? And he said they're the original tribe. Yeah, and they're still present among the Yazidis. Yeah, and Lozzie says Lozzie Longshanks, named after a good old Edward I. Your whole research is amazing. Your channel is too good. Oh, thanks so much. Chantel says UFO Daily. The Scottish were Egyptian. Exiled Egyptian Princess Scotia went there. Yeah, supposedly. Yeah, that's an interesting story. Bear in mind also that the Scottish are East Europeans. The Scottish, who are from Ireland, are Eastern Europeans. And because the word Scot is the word skiv. It's from the skiv. Scottish, Scot. It's a word. They're Scythians. They're Russians almost. They're from Central Asia, and they're from the East as well. So it's not just the princess went there. All of them. They're big, strong blokes. They're like Russians, you know. Yeah. Will Parada says the connections you are able to make with the gods. Very cool. Thanks so much, Will. Ancient alternative. Do you think mastabas in let's scroll. do you think mastabas in Egypt cover a prior subterranean, more technological culture or civilization, later inherited by Egyptians who claim they have always been a legacy culture? I'll read that again. Do you think mastabas? I need to relax. Do you think mastabas in Egypt cover a prior subterranean, more technological culture or civilization, later inherited well, the mastabas don't strike me as doing that, because the mastabas are mainly a small little building. But there is a big fat mastaba in Peru as well, in the desert, a mastaba-like structure. So maybe all the mastabas are originally older buildings. Some are mud brick and some are really good. Some are like the ones in Giza are actually as well built as the pyramids. G'day, Denver. Baz, do you see the documentary on Redheads in New Zealand by Gabby Plum? I haven't seen that, but I've seen this old bearded guy on the Megalithomania channel talking about them. And he said, yes, they were Celts and all this. And yeah. So John 88 says, yes, Jesus spoke in ancient Greek. Maybe he did. The Gospels are in Greek. I don't know what's going on with that, you know. Denver says, have you watched Mud Fossil University channel with stones that are shaped like organs and have traits of organs? What's your take? You know, mud fossils could be correct, but I mean, it's such a radical leap to suddenly say, yeah, he's correct. Let's accept all that because he says it. Because we know that geology, like, aren't we based on the same laws? Isn't everything in the universe based on the same laws of proportion anyway? So why does that law of proportion necessarily have to necessitate that it's a giant fossil? Couldn't it be that, like, for example, celery is good for our bones and it looks like bones. Cauliflower is good for our brains and it looks like a brain. Is the cauliflower a fossilized brain? Is it a vegetable trying to turn into a brain? Or is it just the same laws of the universe, or same DNA, creating different things which look similar? You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be too hasty to jump on the mud fossils wagon. But I have to say, he's a very smart fellow. He's a really clever guy, Mud Fossils. So who knows? Who knows? And some of the things he says, I watched a video of his. He said, I would be scared of going to hell because the universe is an intellectual universe, and information seems to be being conserved and stored. So therefore, like, you'd have to think, does hell exist? And he says yes. Like, so I don't know. It's woo. Back to yoga, yeah. So so David says, I think you're onto something with your Maya Celtic connection. Good videos for sure. Thank you very much, David. Yeah, hi, Edward. Yeah. Lethal says, wow, very interesting. Can you talk more about the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jesus and Samaritans? So did you watch my Jesus series I made last year or the year before on the Samaritans? And I said that there's a guy in Josephus, which is that big book in my introduction, and the complete works of Josephus. And there's a guy called the Samaritan prophet, and the Samaritan prophet is the only one in the actual contemporary Jewish history written by Josephus, a Jewish general who lived at the time. He was the governor of. He was a general. He was a general in Judea during the Jewish revolt, and he sucked up to Roman general Vespasian. Vespasian said, "Oh, come with me to Rome, live as a Roman." So he said, "Oh, okay." And then he wrote the whole Jewish history. Never mentions Jesus. He lived at the same time. Doesn't mention Jesus. He says this guy called the Samaritan prophet was a charlatan, and Pontius Pilate had to swoop on him to put down his revolt, and he unfairly executed him and his followers. And for that there was an inquiry, and Pontius Pilate was recalled to Rome, where he had to answer for this, and he was never allowed to become a governor again. So Pontius Pilate lost his job over killing off the Samaritan prophet, who I think must have turned into Jesus. I mean, how else? That story is exactly when Jesus should have been, and the guy was about the right age to be Jesus. Maybe it happened in about 36 AD. So we're even talking the same time. Like, how could he not be Jesus? You know what I mean? But there were other people who were so similar to Jesus later on. They were imitators, and so the story became mixed up with them as well. So who knows? Right. So Yeah, so Will says North Syrians are said to be descendants of the Sumerians. Nice. Bobby says something that I've always wondered: all the megalithic buildings are pyramids. Why doesn't mainstream archaeology think there was a global civilization? It's really interesting, isn't it? That they don't talk about a global civilization, but maybe they should, because yeah, pyramids are everywhere. I think pyramids are based on the the fallen astronaut. It's something. It's a tomb on top of the ancient fallen astronaut, and look no further than Khufu's so-called tomb. It's basically made for Khnum, who is what is Khnum? Khnum made man on the potter's wheel, and he's got horns, so he's a Satan. So he's a character for maybe fallen to earth. He's a fallen angel. And that pyramid is for Khnum. It's not for Khufu, it's for Khnum, clearly. The ones for Khufu, maybe. Oh, there's a guy in the mastabas, buried in the mastabas, called Khufu Kaf, and some Egyptologist says, oh, that's Khafre. Khafre is buried in a mastaba. That's not his pyramid, you see? So he can't have two tombs. What's going on, right? Yeah, crazy. Yeah, Marvin says, my favorite YouTube channel. Thanks very much. Can't hear a word you're saying. I usually watch with subtitles. Cheers. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, oh, where are we? Sid says, the Earth is an egg and the universe is a uterus of sorts, and comets are sperm. Very interesting. Yeah. Edward says, seen Brian Forster's recent vids, the live streams. I have. They're pretty good. I think he's copying that that fellow from India, because he's superimposing his spoken text on top of video. Yeah. I hope he improves the audio quality one day, because it still sounds like he's talking into a crystal radio, I gotta say. I'd love if he did that. Sid says, the comet has to go right down a volcano to start the reaction. Amazing. Jill, hi. G'day. J. Lord, can you do a video on the culture and society of Australia's first built civilization? Do you know what? I think this might have been in Victoria, or maybe it was the one up north, the Bradshaw art in Western Australia. But maybe it was in Victoria, near that ancient stone circle, which is 10,000 years old. And yeah, which is 10,000 years old. And no one, and the Aborigines said, we don't know who did that. We don't know who did that. Storm says, mast is a pole. What do you mean? Javel says, Dr. K, you should see Cremaster 3 sometime. It's a long symbolic exploration of Scottish rite, reenacting the uniting of Upper and Lower Egypt. Ooh, nice. Very interesting. Afterthought says, mud fossils tripping balls. Storm of Darkness, he's speaking in a strange tongue, which I cannot understand. Okay, interesting. Oh yeah, interesting. Okay. Kevin, love your work and enthusiasm. Keep up the awesome videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'd like to do that. Yeah, because I started to lose the momentum back there. So, because I really didn't like editing. So I only made one a week because I hated just sitting in front of the computer, just editing it. Don't like doing that. It has to be live spoken. It's easier. Storm of Darkness. Rix is pronounced as Rish. Nice. Gitmo Holiday. Gitmo Holiday. That's a funny one. Charles, do you think there are ancient buildings below the ice on Antarctica? Hey, maybe. You know what? Do you remember in the 90s the expose on Graham Hancock? Do you recall that? And so what happened was the journalist. So Hancock was pushing the idea of Flam Af and all this, that Atlantis is Antarctica. And the journalist was very sneaky with him, the British journalist, and she said, "So, do you think Antarctica is Atlantis?" And Hancock said, "Well, yes, I believe blah blah blah, and certainly we should be investigating blah blah blah." And then she said to him, "Well, according to these studies, Antarctica has been under the ice for 3 million years," and she caught him off guard there. And he said, well, studies say this, studies say that, right? And but so but that puts me off as well, saying that there's anything in Antarctica, because why would you go there if it's freezing, if you have to struggle? We, in our advanced technology, have hardly anyone living there. Maybe if there was the pole shift, then yes. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I think there was a pole shift, but oh damn, it's so hard to say, isn't it? Louis the 17th. Clearly, we are looking at the remnants of whatever Atlantis was, in combination with the biblical flood. What killed the dinosaurs? The effects of the Ice Age ending as witnessed by our ancestors. Indeed. Yeah, the dinosaurs, they're actually quite recent, aren't they, according to some new theories, which I love. I just love that idea. Yeah. Teutonic Trickster, who has a funny green mask. Do you give any credibility to the work and timeline of events written by Anatoly Fomenko? Absolutely. Fomenko's work is bizarre and strange. He has uncovered a strange pattern of repetition in history, which as yet has no explanation. I mean, how do you explain the fact that we call Plato after a medieval scholar? His name wasn't Plato. His name was Aristocles. Why do we call him after a medieval, I think, Italian called Plato? What the hell is going on there? And again, why the extreme fascination with ancient Rome in the 1500s? A pattern repeating? What's going on? And also Columbus. Columbus is also part of the Fomenko thing, because a guy, as I pointed out, with Templar sails, an Irish bloke with Templar sails, sailed off to the New World in about 600 AD. So why did Columbus do the same thing 1,000 years later? Is history repeating, or is history the same? I don't know. Storm of Darkness. Jesus in the Bible is Caesarian Ptolemy. Oh, was that one of that airline pilot's theories? What's his name? I can't remember. He self-publishes his books, but he's a very clever guy. King Jesus and all those books. Very clever guy. So Caesarian Ptolemy was the son of Caesar, I suppose illegitimate quote-unquote son of Caesar of Cleopatra. And as soon as Cleopatra was done away with, Caesarion was eliminated by Antony and the rest of that junta in Rome. Count, yep, and hello, Louis. Awesome. Storm of Darkness. He ain't the real one. Gitmo Holiday. I know about fossils in Antarctica, but buildings, I'm not sure all those pics look alike. Okay. Oh, let's scroll again. I hate it how it does that. Yeah. I love that you're all here. Yeah. So Count says, oh no, Cannival, if I miss anyone, I do apologize. John 88 says, where is the 10,000-year-old thing in Victoria? It's between Geelong and Melbourne. It's a stone circle, and it's shaped like a heart. And one branch points to the summer solstice. One line of stones points to the winter solstice. So they were farming. So 10,000 years ago, they were farming in Victoria, because only farmers would do that. And the Aborigines, as far as we know, they were only farming eels in Victoria when the English arrived. What's going on? But Australia is a very tough land. It could wipe out any civilization. Bad Bug says, have you seen the new satellite images of the ruins on Mars they've just found? No, I haven't. I'd be very interested to consult the news, I guess. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll just dial that up now. Ruins on Mars. I'm just dialing that up on Google. I'll see what that brings up. In the news, you say. Doesn't seem to be that much. Oh, I see. It's in the Express, but it's from February. Ancient temple found Mars. The Express. Yeah, the Express. Express publishes ancient mystery stuff. It's quite interesting. Yeah. Who knows? Storm of Darkness says, a mast is Dutch for the pole. The sails are attached to. Storm Rider, there are massive structures under the ice. Canal Tevez, did a global civilization tapped into the Earth's ether, with the pyramids being around the Earth's lee lines? You know, that's really interesting. Yeah, but Gee, there's a damn lot of variables in that question. It's hard to deconstruct and say anything for sure. Count says, I think the Phoenicians were the ones mining the copper in the Great Lakes and taking it to Europe and the Near East. I think you're correct. And before the Phoenicians, the thing is that this is what people don't know. The Phoenicians inherited the trade from the Etruscans because the Phoenicians are over here, and the Etruscans were the naval gatekeepers of the ancient world. And I believe the Etruscan Empire declined as soon as, in conjunction with the decline of orichalcum trade. So as soon as that shut off, they switched from a naval empire into a land empire. And suddenly the Phoenicians no longer locked into the Eastern Mediterranean. They floated over and they became the Carthaginians over here. And they started saying, yeah, you know, we can take over this trade. This is our trade now. Yeah. Lethal says, live streams are good. You should write topics down and dedicate more time to each topic. There's so many topics I want to cover. That's the problem. Like on my screen, on my computer screens, I've got two screens here. And it's just flooded with folders of all these different topics to do that I want to cover, but I just don't have the time to do them. And the problem is every time I make a video, I see two things that each need a new video. So I've still got a backlog from 2017 of videos I have to make. Just so much good stuff coming up, people. Yeah, just so much good stuff. Count says, Great Lakes copper has been identified in Bronze Age artifacts from the Near East and Europe. Oh, really? I wasn't quite aware of that, actually. Well, you know what? They used to say, no Mayan artifact has been found in the Old World, so therefore no transatlantic contact. And no European artifact has supposedly been found in the New World, therefore no transatlantic contact. But what you've just said kind of nullifies what they're saying. There is transatlantic contact. If that is the case, that proves it. And so they should update the official, that is official, that sounds official. They should update Wikipedia and say, look, it's been proven. It's proven, right? So the source, what do you think of the chances of previous cultures to the Maori in New Zealand? Oh, for sure, for sure. I think those guys who are covered, they don't cover that, but I think the guys who have covered that have really proven a case that there were Celtic people living there. That you look at the design of what the Maoris were wearing, it seems they mixed with the Celts and absorbed part of their culture. They look like Celtic warriors. When the Cook arrived, him and his men called them noble savages, and of course they're not savages at all. But they noticed that there was something similar about them, which related them to their own culture. So what's going on with that? Yeah, so Count says, I think the Phoenicians were the ones, ancient alternative. Do you think Australia had a continent next to it capable in the ancient past of having a super culture? New Zealand, dear? You mean like a big New Zealand continent, maybe? The continent is not too far underwater to have been above before the Ice Age. This is a kind of a Churchward sort of theory. Something was going on in the Pacific before. This theory keeps popping up of all the islands having been once linked together into some great continent. And the only thing we see now are just bits and pieces. And partly this theory originates by the fact that the Phoenicians, they all speak the same language and they're thousands of kilometers apart. So yeah, what's going on with that? Was it one continent? I don't know. But you know what? The sea levels have risen a lot since the Ice Age. So maybe, yes, maybe there is something to this. Count says, love your trip to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Charles. Thanks so much. Yeah, that was 2 years back now. And yeah, so when we were there, we saw the Paulding Light in northern Michigan and all that, and the slapping all the biggest mosquitoes you've ever seen. And so we saw the Lake Superior, and there are rocks on the edge of the lake which look like they contain streaks of copper in them. So you can see it was plentiful, and it's still there. It's still there, and it's waiting for someone to say, hey, I can make money out of this, and they can start mining it again. I think Oak Island is similar. I think Oak Island was also a mine. It was a mine shaft. It was an ancient mine shaft. They found an ancient mine shaft. And then to get investors, I think they were mining the investors rather than the tunnel. and so they left all this so-called evidence in there, which is like, oh, 100 meters down you'll find the treasure and all this sort of nonsense. I think it was nonsense, unfortunately, because it's that was to get money. You look at the motive. That was to get the money from the investors, to milk the investors. That's how every mining company on the stock exchange works. They're not mining the mine, they're mining the investors. So why should Oak Island be any different? Anyway, yeah. So Colin says the Perry Reyes map shows Antarctica without ice. Yeah, you know what? I'm really not sure about that at all. 'Cause I looked at that once, and it seemed to me that it didn't fit at all. I think people accept that, but to me, it doesn't fit. They say this, but it doesn't look that way to me. So it looks to me like what they're actually drawing is partly Australia is actually drawn to that map. And they're confusing Antarctica with Australia, and they've swapped it a little bit. So it might resemble Antarctica without ice, but I don't think so, and I don't think we could really know what it looks like quite without ice, because it's not going to be ice-free at the same rate on different sides, because it's going to be, who knows? Yeah. So Tim says, look into Randall Carlson if you want to know where Atlantis is. He shows actual geological proof of where it would have been. Oh, very interesting, very interesting. I keep hearing about his name, but I must admit I don't watch any of these shows. Storm of Darkness, Maori in New Zealand, very important. Atua Gods, nice. The Mountain. What do you think about the Great Circle, where numerous ancient sites are located within a degree of an apparent off-centered, possibly former equator? Now, wasn't this on CFAP's channel? A very good video. Like somehow he got all this software together and he skewed it, and he said, "Whoa, this old equator runs through all the ancient sites. Amazing!" And yeah, I think that's amazing. I got to say, that is amazing. But then again, why the heck would they build their ancient sites on the equator? Do we build a church today on the equator? We build a church facing east. It doesn't need to be on the equator. Why would it need to be on the equator? I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Cisco says, the Cassini program that went to Saturn shows that up to 99,000 pounds of water and silica sand are raining down on Saturn each second. Could the same mechanic have caused the great deserts on Earth? I've got a book on that. There's a guy 20 years ago, he said that this yeah, I'm gonna go and get it. All right, guys. I'm gonna be 10 seconds. All right, back in a second, guys. Back in a second. So here it is, The Big Splash. Patrick, and he wrote this book all the way back in. It was all the way back in 1990, and he's basically said that he's analyzed telescope images and all this, and he said all the water has basically on the Earth has come from outer space, and you can see it raining down onto space. So maybe that gives credence to what you've just said, Cisco, with the water pouring onto Saturn. And the interesting thing is, so I'm going to try and find some of these photos. So here he's pointing to so-called atmospheric holes. An ultraviolet imager on another Earth orbiting satellite, the Swedish Viking satellite launched in February of '86, which has shown evidence of atmospheric holes caused by small comets, water comets. So he reckons this dark spot's a hole, basically. It's a bit weird, it's a bit strange. Yeah, I'm trying to find and he reckons that the comets are in streams like that, raining water down onto the planet, which is just weird, just crazy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that theory's been around a while. Okay. J. Law says, have you heard of Rex? Oh, damn, it scrolled again. Yeah, I've heard of Rex Gilroy. He's been studying Aussie for a long time. I don't particularly agree with a lot of things he's saying. He shows a few rocks and he says that's a temple of of whatever Tanit or whatever, and he favors the Carthaginian explanation, the Phoenician explanation for an ancient civilization in Australia. Hey, who knows? Yeah. Nerdy Squid 123 says, what are your thoughts on the iron oxide rich red sand in Central Australia? Could there have been an industrial civilization that has faded away from the dream time? Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, I think Australia was the home of a great civilization, and it's just been obliterated by weapons. So, for example, so let's say they drop a weapon on the cave system. They did that, what, last year or 2 years ago, right, in Afghanistan, and it obliterated all these caves. And if you keep doing that, eventually you're not going to have any caves, you're not going to have any mountains. It's all going to be just a flat land like Australia. So maybe there was an ancient land here. A really ancient civilization. I think so. And I think I mentioned it before. Someone told me that they found a necklace. They were digging in a mine in Australia, and they found a necklace, a crushed necklace, and they showed it to the owner. And the owner said, "That's mine, and mind your own business." And the guy said, "That belongs in a museum." And he said, "No, mind your own business." So yeah, there you go. Like just crazy. So anyway. So where were we? Like, so people are saying, someone said they moved to Mexico and it's lovely. Excellent. Anthony says, afternoon, Charles. Afternoon, Anthony. So Edward Bevington says, saw a global Lee line map recently. The amount of interesting sites on them is quite unbelievable. And those Lee lines were ancient roads from the ancient super civilization. There's no doubt about this because those roads run underwater from a different sea level. So that's the sea level difference shows how long ago that was. It was a long time ago. Teutonic, so he's talking about his beautiful green mask. He's wearing quite a nice green mask there. And he says, my avatar is from the band Sprung Monkey. Album is Mr. Funny Face. Great 90s album. Got me through some tough times. I'm going to have to check that out. Very nice. So Kevin Bryan says, I've heard the Mayan pyramids were built over places of water wells. Then the Great Pyramid is over a well. Do you think this lends to the water pump theory? Not at all, because they had to. No. That's like saying the Chinese pyramids are water pump because there's lakes underneath. There's lakes under the Chinese pyramids too. They built it on top of the lakes because they. It's the afterlife down there. It's creation, it's resurrection. There has to be a water supply, but that water supply is reserved for the afterlife or for the resurrection or for the recreation. The pyramids, I think, are partly for recreating fertility and all this. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So let's see now. Nice. Steph's manic shenanigans. Okay, just talking to Jason there. Louis the 617 says, "Are the oceans leveled around the world?" Louis, I wish I knew the answer to that question. They're not leveled around the world because whenever they talk about global warming, they only talk about the Maldives or the Pacific. So obviously the oceans are much higher there, I guess. But I don't want to talk politics. No way. Gitmo Holiday. If you look at South America, Africa, Australia, and the below water shelf of the Pacific, they all seem to have a boomerang shape. Isn't that strange? That's right. They all have a boomerang. All the continents have they all have that shape on the bottom, but you don't see that shape on top. And what does that show us? It shows us that I think it was all liquid at one stage, and the rotational velocity of the Earth has created this standing wave pattern of continents as it was spinning, and for some reason it's pushed up. Centrifugal forces pushed up the liquid form of the continents up to the north, but there's been a standing wave of the liquids in the south, and that has formed into continents. Yeah, so Steph's manic shenanigans. I'm in Puerto Penasco, safer than deeper into Mexico for sure. Oh, nice. So I've been looking at some of these real estate programs from Mexico, and it's interesting. I see that like lots of Americans are buying houses in Mexico, and it might be Mexico, but they're paying $300,000 for not a mansion, for just a just a house. I mean, it's a nice tropical house, but it's just a house, you know. So people are paying a lot of money to live there. I have to say that it's not a bad place. I'm sure if they're paying that much money. Yeah. So yeah. So Green Steven says, "What's that map thing behind you?" Oh, that's just a little. That's just a little. That's just a little bar. Just a little bar. It looks like a nice globe. I just got that from eBay. Yeah. Yeah. Jason says, "Nice hat." Thank you so much. Steph's talking about Mexico says the only nicely paved road is the one that leads up to the mayor's house. Damn, that's a problem. Steve says, were the Templars mining for investors on Oak Island? They have found a significant tie between the Temps and the island. Of course, I'm referring to the 19th century and 20th century excavations where these things as soon as these things supposedly, these artifacts supposedly turn up at opportune times, maybe to milk the investors possibly, but I don't know for sure. Yes, Templars were damn awesome. That's right. Up to says lost. What is subject? I don't know. I'm lost as well. The source says, "Run, Charles, run." Oh, that was back before. Carl says, ancient architect says that the Sphinx may be older than the pyramids and actually carved after the Great Pyramid was built. Thoughts? Well, he was telling me in an email he thinks they're not older than the pyramids, or maybe they are. I don't know. So he's changing his mind, but I'm changing my mind too. Storm of Darkness. Atuatuca or Aduatuca was the name of one of more fortified settlements in the region between the Scheldt and Rhine rivers during the Gallic Wars of Julius Caesar, possibly meant fortress. Nice. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jafuli. You've contributed. Thanks so much. Cheers. Nice. Yeah. So it's just it's just scrolled. It's just scrolled. I was behind so much. I have to. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'll try and get to everyone, but I will skip a few, unfortunately. So Rodney says, "Have you ever heard of the Pelasgians? And do you think they were precursors of the Greeks or the Albanians?" Yes, the Pelasgians were responsible for writing Linear A, I believe, and I have to make a Linear A video as well. So I actually deciphered this Linear A thing back in 2004. And I tried to show my archaeology professor, and it's related to ancient UK, and she didn't want to know. So it was actually quite rude to me as well. But because she was thinking, "Oh, what would I know? I don't know anything. I'm just a student. What do I know?" But yeah, so I'm going to make a video. The Pelasgians, they wrote in Linear A, I believe, before the Greeks. Yeah, so Louis XVII says, "When I was in Italy, we visited an ancient Roman harbor that was completely dry because the ocean water had receded nearly half a mile to a mile." That's absolutely amazing. So it's receded in Italy, but in Turkey, in Ephesus, Ephesus, you sail over it apparently, and you look down, and there's the ruins. So it's gone up in Turkey, and it's gone down in Italy. Okay, so the Earth's actually more than we think, and we think we're not allowed to talk about this because we're not geologists. We're damn well allowed to talk about this, because the geologists can't be everywhere at once in every time period and know everything. We're the only ones who can do that if we're really interested in it. Dan says hi, Dan. So Anthony says, "Charles, AK, ask Kevin Hoggett to arrange a chat between us." Who's Kevin Hoggett? Tim says, Randall says, where he believes it should be based on Plato's accounts and geological evidence. Dallas says, popping in for a second. Hi, Dr. Charles, again, you're awesome. So are you, Dallas. Green Steven says, water have a memory. Are you okay? I'm okay because I'm drinking plenty of this peppermint tea, and I've got a full teapot here. Steph's Manic Shenanigans says, I was shocked I was able to have service still when I was out in the ocean in low tide. Walked pretty far to get to the water through the rocks with my shitty service still hanging in. Lol. Nice. You've got a good connection there. Jafuli says, yo, Chucky, yo, Jafuli. Storm Rider says, almost 100 watching. Well done, Charles. Yes. Green Steven, what's with the hat, my friend? This is a pith helmet I picked up in an op shop, opportunity shop. And I thought that I might use that. Yeah, I need that. Yeah, Why not? Because yeah, we can't all dress like the Indiana Jones because there's only one Indiana Jones, so let's be a bit different, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's right. So uh, uh, Canal Tuve says, "Don't be shy. Give a thumbs up, folks." Joe Butter says, Drachnoid meteor shower is peaking tonight, and tomorrow should be a nice show if you have a clear sky. Nice. Unfortunately, I've always been in this big city of Melbourne, and there's 5 million people here, and I've never really been able to see too many meteors, unfortunately. But yeah, you people in the suburbs, that would be, that's a good thing to see. Yeah. Ibra says hello. Ibra from England, nice. Hello, hello, hello. Big Lion 4 says Atlantis is in Madeira, proved by scientists. There was a great cataclysm where half the island slid beneath the sea, creating a giant tsunami. And you're so correct. You're so correct, Big Lion. Atlantis is the whole coastline, which has sunk. The whole area. And there was a book in the 1920s. They were looking at the rocks there, and they said, well, 9,000 BC, something happened here. The sea level rose, and this was a really old book. Once I ordered it at the State Library, and I had to read for a few hours, and I thought it was quite interesting. Yeah, that bloke running Adventures Unlimited, he's published that book. Yeah. So Anthony Gilmer says Australia equals heaven eternal of star Ra, apparently Leah the eye. That's interesting. Well, Australis, it means south in Latin. Terra Australis. So land of the south. This is the land of the south that they had predicted since Greek times, which was necessary in order to stop the world from tipping upside down, because there had to be a big weight down there. Leaf Outdoors says, I filmed a spiritual place in Central Australia. It's a giant crack in the ground in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by a few hills. It's almost like a bomb crater. It's on my channel. Nice. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'll remember. I'll remember. Biggie Boo says, love Mud Fossey you. I look at rocks differently now. Stevie, hi from Bonnie, Scotland. Yeah, nice. Oh, hi, mate. Yeah, g'day. ICQ. Cisco says housing prices are elevated in expat-heavy areas in Mexico. Yeah, they seem terribly high, like 300,000 for a house, American dollars for a house in Mexico. That's interesting. Hey, Tim. Hey, from the UK. Hey. Autumn says hi from Indiana. Steph's manic shenanigans. My grandma just got a 7-bedroom mansion for $850 a month. Mexico isn't very expensive, especially if you're trying to live right on the beach. And someone asked me, it just scrolled, do you think the hieroglyphs in Australia are real? I don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to say yes or no, because I just don't know. I just don't know. Nancy says, woohoo, hope you got some sleep. Yeah, there's actually, I got to say, my bedroom, I can't go into my bedroom. There's like these little flies. I saw 2 flies crawling around on my bed, and I've got all these scars and stuff on my arms and stuff. So they're not bed bugs. There's something else. They're sandflies or midges or something. So I was steaming it and steam mopping the bed and vacuuming, and who knows? So let's catch up on the comments. Yes, let's catch up on the comments. It's slowing down. It scrolled so much. Yeah. So there we go. Okay. So Rufus. Hello, Rufus. Pelasgians are pre-Greek people known as the people before the moon. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Lethal Outdoors. I have footage of a bomb crater in Australia called Snake Pit. Whoa, nice. Check out his stuff. Interesting. Anthony Gilmer, Jason Smith. This answers your question. Australia equals. Oh yeah, I read that. Hi, Michael. Hi, Charles and chat. Cool to catch the live stream. Yes. Steph says the writings are apparently not an authentic, not written in authentic order. Yeah, that's the problem with those writings in the hieroglyphs in Queensland. But some people say they're real, so maybe I haven't been there. I don't know. I haven't been there. I'd love to see it, but from the photos I've seen, it's hard. But then again, if you look at videos on it, people say, "Hang on a sec, I went there, and there's no way it could have been forged because." The forger couldn't have balanced himself on that tall ladder while he was chipping away with a chisel and reaching over like this. It had to have been done with some kind of elaborate setup and technology and all this. So hey, who knows? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Steph says everyone moved to Mexico. Let's explore everything. um, Jason Smith says, and on Tutankhamun's tomb, it's written in the wrong order. I didn't know that. So Tutankhamun's tomb is a fake, you reckon? Yeah, there seems to be a lot of shenanigans going on with Tutankhamun's tomb, and maybe they even killed off all the scientists, the archaeologists as well, because they were getting a bit too close to what was happening. Like the fact that do you reckon Howard Carter was dodging his investor, Lord Carnarvon, and giving him a bit of a wind up and saying, "Look, I found a tomb," and and then the other people started to say, "Hang on a sec, this doesn't make any sense." And as soon as they said that, boom. Yes. So Stevie says, "What are you, Doctor of Charles? History, medieval history, like those chronicles and things, you know, like so." Yeah, like, I was looking at those chronicles and things like that. Yeah. So Anthony says, par equals former. Interesting. Cuss 88. Charles, you're the most real researcher on here. Thanks so much, mate. Jason Smith, what's your opinion on the history of the star signs? Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Well, they were different things, weren't they? I mean, there was a crocodile in the sky, and there was all these other things up there. And the crocodile, you know what the crocodile was? The Big Dipper. That was a crocodile. So in the Egyptian times. So who knows what's going on with that? Yeah. Joe says Kincaid Cave in the Grand Canyon suggests the ancients from across the globe were in places that history says they couldn't have been. Anyone ever studied it? Storm of Darkness says Atlantis is Belgium to Ireland before the flood, Dogland, etc. I totally agree with you, because that's close to Europe. You want to be close to Europe to get the story into Egypt. If it was in America, which it could have been as well, that could have been part of the same empire, it's a little bit further off, so it's harder to get the story. But then again, everyone's got the flood story. It's mixed in with the flood story, which is the catastrophe. Yeah. Jay Lord says, who were the rulers of the America's Templar Empire, and why would a civilization in Victoria not mine all the gold and live as opulently as the 19th century colonists in Victoria? The civilization that was in Victoria seems to have been Stone Age. Stone Age people mined gold. Maybe there was enough alluvial gold for them in the rivers for them that satisfied them at the time. And the rivers also would have changed over 10,000 years. There would have been a lot more rivers in Victoria back then as well. The rulers of the Templar Empire in America. So I made a video a few years ago, and I said, look, there was a Templar. The Tarascans north of the Aztecs were Scottish-looking people, Europeans. They're wearing these tartan kilts. They're wearing a Highlander cap. What the hell is going on? In Spanish times, did the Spanish bring over Scottish mercenaries? No, they were drawing Tarascan people. Was this a relic of the Templar Empire? I'm going to make a video suggesting it was Columbus in cahoots with them, trying to get to them, trying to take over their wealth. Were the Templars trying to take the wealth from America, the gold, back to the old world? Is that why they were so rich? Did the French king get wind of this and try to steal their secrets? There's so much going on there. And I even found the name of one of their rulers, the Tarascan rulers. Now, he was a ruler, but much earlier on, and he had an Irish name. And I've been unable to locate that. It wasn't in the book where I thought it was. I thought I circled it. It wasn't in there. But I'm sure I found an Irish name from pre-Columbian times, ruling over part of the Mayan Empire or the Peruvian Empire. So I have to find that. But yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, damn! It's scrolled up again. Yeah, I scrolled up again. Yeah. So yeah, I Lost History Channel. Hello, Lost History Channel. G'day. Yeah, nice. Yes. So where were we? Oh, that's right. Yeah. So evening, CJ Fu. Eric says, would you consider doing AMSR video with pencil tapping? There you go. That's your fix for the day. So Kevin Bryan says, could the pyramids have been built as markers of a water source? They seem to appear around the desertification of the Sahara. They could have been later repurposed for religion, perhaps. Yeah, maybe, but maybe that the water had to be there to build the pyramids to give them their ceremonial use or something like that. But yeah, the pyramids are weird. And John says the pyramids are Noah's Ark. I actually no longer have any opinions about the pyramids because they're just. It's almost like different realities are combining, different quantum realities are combining. One in which the pyramid is high tech and one in which the pyramid is Stone Age. And we're getting sort of somewhere in the middle. It's so confusing. The Shroud of Turin does that as well. It's part high tech and part primitive, you know. So I would call it a quantum artifact, something from different universes combining, and it's giving us it's throwing off mixed signals, and so that's why we're so confused. We're talking about it, we have no clue. Yeah. Yeah. So CJ Fu, I love your videos, Charles. Good stuff as always. Keep up the fantastic work. Thanks so much. Steph says no fun. Hope you get the bugs. I'm sleeping in a different bedroom. I'll just close that door. Yeah. So Stevie says pyramid builders use the water for hydraulic purposes, I think. Count says just subbed you, lost history. Nice. Anthony says Sumerian is phonetically identical to Linear B. I wasn't aware of that. That's quite interesting, actually. Steph says, I want to learn hieroglyphs better so I can be my own judge to know if they are real. I don't trust these mainstream historians. I totally agree with you, Steph. I don't trust them either because they're not really, you know what? They don't satisfy the public. That's why there's so many YouTube channels now saying, and people finally, they have a YouTube channel. They can say, oh, this is what I think. And other people say, oh, I agree with you. I was thinking the same thing. And the fact that it's so easy to make a video and people say I was thinking the same thing shows that the historians aren't doing their job. Yeah. Tim says, will we get contact with alien life in our lifetime? Will Earth-like planets everywhere? I hope so. That would be amazing. Nancy said, I wonder if there is more to find there. Jason Smith says, Australia isn't all flat land. I live on a hill and I've been in Jenolan caves, some of the deepest caves in the world. So I don't buy your nuclear war theory. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. But you know, some people, some Indian people told me in the ancient texts, Australia was Australia or something which might be Australia was nuked and flattened. So who knows? Eric says, have you heard any news on the possible tomb of Alexander the Great? Have they excavated it? You know, I'm going to Google that now. I'm going to Google that right now because I'm reading actually fictional books about this lately by some of those authors like McDermott and all that. And so I'm actually quite curious. Tomb of Alexander the Great. And General Lee is saying stuff I'm not allowed to say if I want to keep my YouTube channel. So you're naughty. Okay. So Tomb of Alexander the Great. So let me see. Let me check the news. Tomb of Alexander the Great. New clues on the lost tomb of Alexander the Great. This is from February. Oh no, hang on. A Greek archaeologist close to finding tomb of Alexander the Great. So there's a Greek woman called Calliope Limnios Papacosta features on the lost tomb of Alexander the Great, set to premiere on National Geographic. And so she's dressed up like Indiana Jones rather than Lara Croft. Maybe she should be doing the Lara Croft, I think, and she's been digging for 14 years around the Shalalat Gardens, a public park in the heart of Alexandria, Egypt, without much progress. Moments before Papa Costa gave up, a bit of soil shifted in the last pit, and her assistants called her over to inspect a piece of white marble poking out of the dirt, National Geographic reports. I was praying, she says. I hoped it was not just a piece of marble. I have a dream, she says. I will go on until I fulfill it. The woman that had gone 35 feet under modern-day Alexandria said the discovery, she adds, was her greatest moment. So it gave me goosebumps to see it, the original foundations of Alexandria. So the ERT passes an electrical current into the soil to measure resistance and detect subsurface objects. So far, her team has identified 14 anomalies that may be structures far beneath the ground, uncovering more and more of Alexandria's ancient royal quarter whilst engineering an elaborate system of pumps and hoses to keep the site dry enough to excavate. I hope that I did not give up When I first arrived at the water table, I was insistent and continued. I go in. So it looks like she's found the original foundations, but there's nothing in this particular article about the tomb itself. So it's a bit hush hush. Maybe it's a bit hush hush. Yeah, no, they found an artifact as well. No, they found an artifact. Hang on. Artifact. Oh, they found a statue of Alexander with no arms and no legs. Well, honestly, that's not too much. Right. So where were we? Yeah. So Stevie says any alien life would give this planet a wide berth. Rashid says, "Hi Charles, have you ever tried cleaning on the chasing up anything on the Malambimbi stones? What are your hopes of finding Fred Slater's work? Do you reckon?" Malambimbi stones. So the Mullumbimby stones and mounds of Mullumbimby. What are they? I don't know what they are. Oh, that's the wrong. Oh, those are in New South Wales. Yeah. Oh, I hope they. So there were two circles and a snake between them in New South Wales. The Australian government cleaned it up. They got rid of the stones. It would have been Australia's Stonehenge. We had an archaeologist saying we need to make this Australia's Stonehenge. The government packed up the stones. And one of the researchers, Steve Strong from Queensland, he wanted to, at least they had the stones all piled up. He photographed them. He said, we need to put them back. The stones vanished a few years ago. Whoops, it can never be rebuilt. But it was another great Stonehenge. Yeah, pity. Yeah, so where were we? Tobus says, Dr. C, good morning. Good morning, Tobus. Ryan says, good morning, Charles. Happy I made it. G'day, Ryan. How you doing? So Jason says Egyptians thought Orion was Osiris, and the Sphinx used to point to Leo, and the sound in hieroglyphs is a lion. That's very interesting. Joe says they just opened a chest from Tutankhamun's tomb. Whoa! Believed to belong to his wife. It's the white one. Remember what happened to the people who first entered regarding the protection spell? I didn't know that. So it's really interesting. I'm not keeping up on current. It's Tutankhamun's tomb. I'm just going to Google that because so in the news, mystery. Oh, it's the Express. So the problem with the Express is they'll do YouTube videos, right? So box open for the first time, remarkable. For the first time on camera. I find it hard to believe, honestly. Oh, it's that white box that was in the tomb. Sadly, the box is empty. Damn, that's a problem. You can smell the wood and the resin. It's empty, but you can smell the history coming out of it. It is still the most remarkable thing, and it's secret. So it's a white box that looks a little bit like the Ark of the Covenant, and it's got the gold and blue thing like the Irish did, like the Egyptians did. Amazing. Okay, nice. So, it's a scroll a bit. So Lost History Channel says it would be the greatest find of our time if they found the tomb of Alexander. Would have heard. Indeed, it would have. Indeed, indeid. So it's just it scrolls in these massive chunks. And it goes boom, and suddenly I'm halfway through. So if I miss your messages, I do apologize. I won't be able to do all the messages. Nice. Now, what do you think about mud fossils? As I said earlier on, I think they are laws of nature, curves of nature, geometry of nature. So we don't know if they're fossils or they're just the geometry of nature, right? I don't know. Big Lion says Egyptians were using cocaine, which was only grown in America at the time, meaning there was a connection and trade between the civilizations. Oceans were not a barrier, but a highway. Anthony says the Druids' original name was Chala da Drua. They were the Chaldaeans. The Chaldeans? That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. Steve Christie says, first time on here, Doc. Keep it up, mate. Thanks so much, Steve. Jafuli says, it's even better when there is a slight difference in opinion, especially with Dr. Chucky. Thanks so much. Louis XVII, compare stone to steel and glass. Which materials are the more difficult to work with? I don't know. It depends on your perspective. ICQ, what is your most big surprise to you in the last 10 years in your research? Oh, thank you for that question. Maybe that the ancient, all this evidence popping up that the ancient, that there was a high-tech lost super civilization back in the past, which was exceedingly more advanced than our civilization. And they had everything. They had giants, they had genetic engineering. They were literally living with the dinosaurs back then, or they might have even cloned the dinosaurs and brought them back to life to play with them. They might have had Jurassic Parks even 30,000 years ago. And people say this cannot be. This cannot be. We popped onto the planet recently. I mean, who are the real ancient alien people? The people who say humans stretch back 100,000 years ago, or the people who say there were no civilizations until 6,000 years, 4,000 years ago, and we just popped up? It seems we're at cross purposes, because the people, it seems we're saying the same thing. They're even more ancient aliens than the ancient civilization people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. So, right, yeah. So Jason says, when I went to Brian Cox talking, and he said all the stars we can see, the highest form of life apart from us at will, must be globs of goo. Interesting. Lost History Channel says it would be the greatest find of our time if they found the tomb of Alexander Wood. I think I said that already. Yeah. So Jafuli says, I think acid melted many quarries, etc. I do believe Egyptians, but not the ancient ones, used geopolymer. The old Egyptians didn't have geo, but the later ones did. Then they gave that to Romans. Cisco says there's a game called Successors where you drag Alexander's dead body around and try to get it to a proper burial place while the other players are trying to steal the body so they can bury it. Steph's Manic Shenanigans. I like the theory that Alexander's and Cleopatra's son escaped to South America. I haven't heard that one. Phone Stream says, hey from Sweden. Hey, Sweden. Yeah. J Lord, she's not attractive. She was probably once a beauty, but she's too old to rock the Lara Croft look. Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. That Greek archaeologist. Yeah, she's a little bit past the shelf date. Right. Cruel Crush says, hey from France. Hey, Cruel Crush. Jason Smith, what do you think about the out of Australia theory? Oh, that's Steve Strong's theory. So Steve Strong was showing, I went to his presentation in Melbourne because a fan actually invited me along, and he bought a ticket for me. And Steve Strong said, I've got this skull, 500,000 years old. It's got a flat skull. It's got 2 front teeth missing. And he said, that's Aboriginal initiation. And it's a 500,000-year-old skull. Unfortunately, it didn't have any brow ridges. It was just straight. Can you imagine? It's just straight flat like that, but bigger than ours. And he said, this brain is bigger than ours, so therefore it was smaller than us. But I have to disagree, because if you have a different shaped brain, it's not necessarily smaller than us if there's no brow ridges. The brow is important, it defines modern humans. So it might have been animal-like or very, very devious in its cunning ways. You know what I mean? It's almost a different creature to us. But anyway, he said this skull tried to kill me 3 times, and I have to bury it in the countryside, or it's going to keep trying to kill me. And he was just recovering from an illness. So yeah, so you got to be careful with that, especially if you believe in that stuff. If you don't believe in it, it's probably not going to hurt you, unless you're Aleister Crowley. He believed in it, and the black magic still didn't hurt him. He was weird. So Baz says, a friend of mine worked on the Shroud of Turin. It's an ancient fake. Interesting. Shroud of Turin is so weird. ICQ, hi from the Netherlands. Hey, ICQ. Jason says, where do you think life came from? From deeper in the universe, not Earth. Scylla Werter says, g'day Charles, there's a rock art that predates the Aborigines up in the Dutrak Range in the Kimberley. If been there for 60,000 years, who predated them? You're talking about the Bradshaw art? So if you look up the Bradshaw art, you'll see it's just figures that look like Africans, basically, and they were living in Australia 20,000, 30,000 years ago. Yeah, interesting. So Jason Smith says, what do you think is the historical accuracy in things like the Bible, Quran, Mahabharata, etc.? I think the Bible is, unfortunately, it's very accurate, but the problem is when you have a good story, you insert your favorite characters into the plot. And that's what's happened with every ancient mystery. They insert their favorite characters into the plots with every ancient legend. Same as the Mahabharata. So if you talk to Sri Lankans about the Rama War, they say that the Indians inserted their royal families into their earlier story and they skewed the tradition. And they all agree it's high tech, it's ancient high tech, it's super high tech. They talk about aerial defense shield, fighter planes, nuclear bombers, all sorts of things like that is in the ancient texts. And in the 19th century, they said, "Oh, this is all magic," and translators said, "Oh, this is a curious little bits of magic and imagination and stuff," and bam, it suddenly fits modern technology, you know. So yeah, yeah. So Anthony Gilmer says L equals L, X equals Ak, L Ak and Da. El act God law, Mexico equals Mexico, exists land pure. Interesting. You know, synchronicity, I would classify that as a synchronicity rather than an etymology. Because an etymology are things no one agrees with, but if it's a synchronicity, there's something there's something in that, you know, there's something going on with interactions we don't appreciate. Lethal Outdoors, where's your next dig, Charles? You know what? I want to go somewhere like Greece or something and check out the Minoans, you know, and yeah, I'm sure there's some stuff going on there. Teutonic, oh damn, it's scrolled. Why is it scrolling like that? Teutonic says, yeah, okay, we'll work out. Yeah. Oh, J Lord, can you do a video on the Hotel Windsor, Carlton Exhibition Hall, ANZ Gothic Bank, Flinders Stations, and all the gold rush buildings from when your city was the richest on earth? That's right. Melbourne was one of the richest cities on earth. We were the New York of the South. I used to do tours in all these places. I did an architecture. I used to do walking tours as a business, and I used to take him into the ANZ Gothic Bank. It's got enough gold leaf to stretch around the earth 3 times. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah. We have an amazing history in Melbourne. We're an amazing city back in the past. Maybe I should do a video, something like that. Walk around the city. Yeah, that would be interesting. Why not? You know, show the gold rush history of Melbourne. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So let's scroll down a bit. Yeah. So let me see. Yeah. Lost History Channel says that box was already open. Yeah. Well, are they going to find the box and then not open the box? Are you kidding me? In the 1920s? Of course they're going to do that. Yeah. So Lost History Channel says, great, Charles. Keep up the awesome work, mate. Great energy and knowledge. Thank you so much, mate. Yeah. UK Brit 100 says, hey, Charles, love a channel and hat. Hi from England. Hi, UK Brit. Jack Richard says, European whitewashed a lot of history. That's the truth. Make it about them. Jason Smith says, what do you think about Troy and what would be the level of technology? Troy, you know, Troy is a bit mysterious. Troy was a country. It was a tributary of the Hittite Empire. And if you look in the Hittite archive, they talk about the Achaeans. They don't call them Achaeans. They call them Achaeans who are attacking their tributary but they don't call it Troy, they call it Torresiacia or something like that because they have a funny agglutinative language and we don't quite know how to pronounce it. It's like repeating syllables in an agglutinative language. But yeah, they had a real history and we haven't found the real Troy. We've only found a tiny part of it. The Heinrich Schliemann Troy is a tiny part of it. It must have been enormous and it's all buried or obliterated or quarried. Yeah. So S. Frank says, so it's not too far-fetched for me to think we used to be spacefaring. Not at all. We did used to be spacefaring in the 60s. But the thing is, back then, surely. Oh, someone's contributed a bit of donation. Thanks so much. Cheers. I'll scroll down later. Thank you so much. So Teutonic Trickster said, apparently geneticists have proven that not everyone came from Africa, that different people came into being separately, then mixed over time. Yet the out of Africa theory is still mainstream. It shouldn't be mainstream. It shouldn't be mainstream because we already know there was Cro-Magnons in Europe and in North Africa, which there's older Cro-Magnons in Europe than in Africa. And this was actually discovered a long time ago, back in the 70s. by a guy called Jeffries, who wrote a book called Psychic Archaeology. And he actually used this psychic to tell him how far to dig, and he kept digging and digging and digging, and he found Cro-Magnon tools. They can only be made by Cro-Magnons because they're very precise tools, and he dated them using the geology layer that they were found in, 130,000 years old in America, Cro-Magnons. So what he said was published in an alternate publication, his own book, written by himself in the 70s. So in the 70s, we knew there was problems with out of Africa. You can't be getting out of Africa 60,000 years ago if you have Cro-Magnons in America 130,000 years ago. So the history, so we've always known this is skewed, but it's never been mainstream, because what is mainstream? Mainstream is a few universities. That's what it is. It's just a few universities, you know? So yeah, it's that's mainstream. Yeah. So so Lorraine Green says the Templars already raided all the European tombs back in the time of the Crusades in the 12th century. They have the Ark of the Covenant, and their stronghold is Switzerland, where they funded the war. ICQ says the people in the past were possibly way more tech advanced than we can understand or find out. Kid Max says the winners write the history. Jason Smith, are you spiritual in any way? Yeah, I like the yoga, you know, the stretches, because they relax you so much. Spiritual, yeah, of course, but not. Yeah, I pray sometimes, yeah, but not to anyone in particular, just to this. Right. So Lorraine Green says, yes, that was all the world wars. Chicky Rogue says, hey y'all, Chicky. Steve Christie says, mankind has been waging wars since the dawn of time. It's sad, really, and you're right, it is. Lost History Channel says, history being written by the victors of wars is very true. Jason Smith says, Lost History Channel, who is the guy in your photo? And did you know in Thug Notes they used that picture for Macbeth? Oh, that's a look like Galileo, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh, no, he says it's Kepler. It's Kepler. Yes, it's Kepler. Okay. Good to know. Yes, Kepler was very nice. Oh, thank you very much for your contribution, Ryan. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Coffee or tea on you? I'd love to. Thank you. Yeah, so Ryan says, love the gold mining stuff. I second that video. Nice. Leaf Light Door says, Melbourne's got bulk gold. What about other states like New South Wales, South Australia, WA? Yes, so they had great stuff too. You know, it's a pity, actually. There's not much old Melbourne left, only a few big buildings, but lots of the small buildings, like say you have in Sydney, you have the Rocks, where you have that convict town. It's like you have an old town in Sydney. You don't have an old town in Melbourne. You've just got one house right in the middle, which is a laneway, which is from the 19th century. That's it, really, just a small house to see how the middle class lived. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hello, Usman. Yeah. Joe says, Howard Carter's team and other prominent visitors to the tomb died shortly after opening. Carter's team opened the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1922. Magic, fungi, something else, who knows? Kid Mac says, pure math tells us we only know 0.0000001-ish of the truth. John James says, dude, the fallen angels were running shit here until the Great Flood in 1811, where the dome filled with water and the giants were all killed and God repopulated the earth after the mud flood drained. It's interesting. Yeah, 1811, 1812, Napoleon. I kind of think Napoleon must have drowned in Russia. Oh, thanks so much for the contribution. You know what? The Napoleon thing doesn't make any sense. Napoleon was not a stupid man. This does not make any sense to me. How did he lose all of his army in Russia? Was he this inept? Was he an amateurish political military leader that his army would just desert him and run away? Didn't he have any discipline? Did they all just die of the cold? Is that possible? Of disease? Or did something else happen? I think something else was going on there. Something else happened. Something weird happened. Something crazy happened, yeah. So where were we? Yeah, that's right. So so if I don't get to your comment, I'm so sorry. Teutonic Trickster says, Where are the giant heads of stone that sort of look like mud fossil or stone carving Victoria? In my book, you're talking about in Confessions of the Gods. So basically in this oh, it's over here. So in this, I'm sure that's what you're talking about. So in this book written here, so we went on a little day trip to a place called Hanging Rock, and near Hanging Rock, I said, oh, hang on a sec. I said, hang on a sec. I made a chapter called "Visit to a Nuked City," and I said, oh, there's a friend of mine inside a sort of crocodile formation, right? A bit weird, a bit straight. It looks like a wave. It's like a wave has suddenly frozen. You know what I mean? And there's also, yeah, look, that's near Hanging Rock. So basically, do you see that statue in the background? And there's a head on it, and it doesn't look like a statue from every angle, but from one angle, it looks like something out of the Lord of the Rings movie. You know what I mean? So I was thinking, huh, that's a bit weird, and it's just like a pillar of volcanic something, you know, or something else. A bit weird, a bit strange, you know. Yeah. So those are those two pictures from that. Yeah. Yeah, so there, yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah, Lost History Channel says, we know nothing, kid, Mac, ignorance is bliss, lol. Yeah, indeed, indeed, indeed. So, yeah. So Just a Gamer says, hi, Charles, I hope you got my message about the high-def Ogham Stones images. Yeah, it'll be probably on the Facebook thing. Yeah, that's right. Another little fact, Ireland is known for its potatoes, but potatoes come from Peru. Another connection maybe. Maybe. So Ireland had to grow the potatoes because the wheat wouldn't grow, because they don't grow wheat there, because it's too wet. It's just far too wet. It's raining every day. Especially in the north, it rains every day. In the south, you're getting the trade winds. It's almost a tropical weather in summer. It's a little bit warmer. It's nice weather. It's pleasant. Yeah, that's right. David's telling Usman to knock it off. I agree. He needs to knock it off. Project Knowledge. What's up, Charles? Keep up the good work. You're one of the most real ancient researchers on YouTube. Thanks so much, Project Knowledge. I do like to, you know, I'm only putting what I'm saying, and I started as a hobby. What I'm saying, it goes out there. It goes out there on the net. That's right. So Jason says Troy was called Illis, hence why we call the poem the Iliad. Indeed, it had different names. Might have even been a different kingdom in the past. Maybe Illyrians lived there as well, because there was Illyria on the European side of Troy. So why not on the Turkish side as well? Not sure. Not sure. Yeah. Ryan says that these oh, it's scrolled. These, damn it, not three, lol, pre-coffee fingers. So Jack Richards says, why does UK not want to bring back to Ethiopia things they stole from them 120 years ago? That's a good question. It is a very good question. I think, you know what? I think the UK, yeah, the UK is like, they're a bit dodgy. They're a bit, not the people, just the British Museum. Yeah. So, Leaf Outdoors, have you seen these perfect sphere rocks in South America? What's that about? Geodes, fossilized large ball bearings, fossilized time capsules, maybe fossilized time capsules. Maybe Easter eggs. Maybe they thought we have to make it perfect around like the world. Maybe the representations of the Earth, the way the Great Pyramid is a mathematical representation of the Northern Hemisphere. Something like that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Jafuli says, drop those likes. Yeah, drop those likes. Don't be stingy with your like button. That's right. So The Mountain says, is it true Donald Trump is a time traveler? You know what? I won't talk politics, but I read one of his books. He uses gut instinct, and gut instinct is a time traveler. So that's how he does it, I think. But I don't want to talk about him. Okay, so Storm of Darkness. No, Jason says, do you believe that the greater good and doing a bad thing do you believe in the greater good and doing a bad thing to achieve a better result? sometimes, but usually not. No, we're not very egalitarian. Sorry. Uh, yeah. Anthony Gilmer says Raz star L L L da ba ra N L L loss. Woo! Getting a headache. You know where Ra came from. ICQ says I do the same cost. Yoga, bit meditation, and pray to everything. Yeah, it's a nice way to do it. I mean, we don't know much about what's up there, do we? Like, we're not going to say, who are we to say what's this and that? I don't know. Shouldn't talk religion, eh? Count says, Charles, have you heard of Daniel List Dark Journalist channel on YouTube? Great work on Atlantis. I have not. Thanks so much for the contribution, Stevie. Very much appreciated, Stevie. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you so much. Jason Smith says, Aussie, 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 yay! Interesting Elements says, hey, Charles, nice to see a live stream. Great work. Thanks very much, Interesting Elements. Jason Smith says, do you think we live in a simulation? Jason, I got to tell you, yes, I do, because a few years ago, I think lots of people, like, when people are like 20 years old, they think they know everything, right? Because a person who's only slightly experienced in something suddenly feels like they're a master at it. But as soon as they learn more, they start to see all the things they don't know. And the older they get, the more things they don't know. And they start to think, damn, I don't know much at all. And then they become even more religious than they already were before. But when I was maybe 30 or 25 or 30, I started noticing something ain't right. There's threads running through other threads in everything we do. For example, like I even got like bites on the same part of my hand on two different sides and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And there's synchronicities, mirrorings. There's invisible mirrors everywhere in the universe, bouncing information around backwards and forth, even between objects. Objects carry information too. It's crazy. Yeah. Count says Walter Bosley on Napoleon. David Britton says, I stumbled across Nawaria Gebarmung. Are you familiar with this site? I have not. Nawaria Gebarmung. What's it about? Is it interesting? Jay Lord says it's still one of the most richest and powerful cities on earth. Melbourne. Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. Robert Goldenbaum says was it Napoleon's cannon that defaced the Sphinx? You know, they say that, don't they? Don't they say that? I don't know. I wish I knew, but they do say that. You know what? Napoleon wouldn't do that. Maybe a few rogue soldiers. You know, it wasn't just Napoleon there. The British were there. Didn't he take over from the Mamluks, who were a Turkish? They were sort of broken away from the Turkish Empire, or they were other Turks from Central Asia, the Mamluks, and yeah, they had their little cavalry, and yeah, maybe, who knows? Thanks so much for your contribution, Arno. I much appreciated. Yeah, cheers. So yeah, so scroll again. Oh, look at that. So let's Jack Richard says, your hat says to me imperialist colonial oppressor. Sorry. Count says Kensington runestone. The Kensington runestone. So, I'm going to look that up now. I'm just going to Google it just for Kensington runestone. Right, so let me see. What language is it? It's yeah, it's Viking. It's a Viking language. And where is it? Is it in the New World? It's from a Swedish farmer, Olof Oman, was clearing his land near Kensington, Minnesota. It's obviously Viking. It's clearly a Viking stone. It looks to me like a genuine article. I would say, looking at that, that is a genuine rune stone for sure. That is not fake. That looks genuine as. Especially if it was done in the 19th century, I think. Yeah, back then, yeah, you wouldn't be able to find the right tools even to do that as properly as that. You'd have to spend a lot of time, I think. Yeah. So where were we? So Simple Man, Biden soaks his hey, come on, man, come on, no politics here. Potato Famine says English genocide of the Irish. That's what the Irish claim. They actually say the English had enough food and they didn't feed them. And you won't learn that in England. I don't know if it's true or not, but certainly there were some bad opinions of the Irish and lots of Wasn't it Malthus or someone else said, I hope the plague wipes them all out or something like that. Pretty bad, pretty bad. So Jason Smith says, what do you think about the original of an original global religion and the connections between all the major ones such as Krishna and Jesus? That's the Stone Age religion. That is the Green Man religion. Krishna, Jesus, Bacchus, all these people. They're all variations on the Green Man, the fertility god, for sure. That's the global Stone Age religion for sure. Yeah. So Cody says you should do a Pith Helmet unboxing review. It's quite nice actually. Like, so it's a Hat World Australia. There we go. Wool and polyester. One size fits most. Hat World Australia. So there we go. So yeah. So it's pretty. I actually quite like it. They used to wear this in Australia. It's I got to tell you, like, it's not colonials, because this was worn by traffic police in Australia until the 60s, by lollipop police. It's many things. This is an outdoors hat. That's what it is. Outdoors. It's not to say it's colonial. What about the countries that weren't colonized? Like, we had this as well, and we weren't. Apart from the Aborigines, So it's a very big. It was used a lot, not just by colonialists. Like, it was used quite a lot. So Storm of Darkness says, yes, one shamanic religion was there. So interesting elements. Do you think the cup and ring marks throughout the world are a language rather than constellations? I do think so. I do think so. Yes. I think it's a code. It's for sure a code. It's for sure a code. Yeah. So Jack Richards says, Cody, somebody get offended. Somebody don't like the truth from the real history. Oh, hey. Politics. Sharon says, hi from Peru. Hey, Sharon. Cody says, lol, no, I just love it when Chucky rocks the hat man. Yes, I like it. It's nice hat. So Darkside, can you tell us a bit more about the Hunebedden? Really like your work. Hi from the Netherlands. Hi, Darkside. The Hunebedden are amazing. The Hunebedden are just stones, which Hunebedden means giant graves. And they used to say, well, these are the graves of giants. And they're absolutely enormous. They're like 3, 4, 5 meters long. And they used to think, well, giants were buried here, and the Bible proves it, because the Bible says there were giants back then. And they're all from even older than 3000 BC. They're just ancient. And there's actually a lot going on. And they're also I think there's a few in Belgium as well, but they are quite typical of the Low Countries. But they're also in Denmark. That's the other thing. They're in Denmark as well. So, but yeah, they're like a long barrow almost, because they had long barrows on the continent, round barrows in England, but they didn't have round barrows at all on the continent. But they also have long barrows in England, which shows that continentals invaded England. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Also, they all point east-west like a pyramid. So I said, these are pyramids. And someone said, they're pyramids? Charles, are you joking? They don't look like pyramids. And I said, there was no Google back then. They couldn't look up what the Egyptian pyramids looked like. They pointed them east-west with an entrance, and they'll have a southerly entrance as well. The pyramid, I think, has a northerly entrance. So it's like it's an east-west equinoctial cult. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So where were we? Oh, it's scrolled again. Okay, yeah, it's scrolled. So let's see. Let me see. Sean says, off to work. Yeah, cheers, mate. Cody says, yes, more Hunebedden. Leiden was very interesting. I'd like to know more about the rock with the dragon world snake attached into it. So was it no, wasn't it? It was in Utrecht, wasn't it? Utrecht. That there was a stone with a dragon on it and all this, and that was, I forget the details, I gotta say. Count says, I think Dark Journalist is a right-hand path mystery school adept. Interesting. Andrew says, how old are you, Charles? I'm 38. Storm of Darkness says, Hunebedden, pillars of Heracles are in Drenthe Gibber altar, sacrificial altar, and it was one Duvelskut. Nice. Yes, they were used for sacrifice, and they used to think the Hunabedden. So imagine a long series of stones like Stonehenge, and they're paired apart, and they used to say they made the victims crawl through them. You sort of crawl through them, and then they cut their head off when they come out. They sacrifice them, or they sacrifice them on the altar on top. Madame Medusa says, Charles, do you think the azure window was caused by natural water erosion? The oldest photos, thank you. Not sure. Storm of Darkness says, Draco turns around the North Star, the serpent on the stone. Thomas says, good morning, Dr. Chaos. Morning, Thomas. Jafuli says, Chucky, who made the stone with the hole in Cornwall and how? So there's a stone where you put your hand through, and then the other person puts your hand through who's your partner, basically, and that's how that works, I suppose. And then it's fertility, right? It's Stone Age. There are no records, unfortunately. I wish there were. So the Count says the translation from the Kensington runestone tells the story of the Vikings who came to Minnesota and fought some natives. That's very interesting. But just looking at it, you look at the side-on angle, that's how the Vikings did it. I think for sure it's real, just looking at it. It's there is an absence. There's no serpent. There's no serpent around it, which is a problem. I'd like to see a serpent on there. Apart from that, that's a Viking runestone, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, someone contributed. Thank you so much. Yay. So, yeah, so what are we saying? The Count says the translation from Jay Lord says do a video on labasa. What's labasa? So John James says Adam and Eve in the garden is about cooking food. The serpent is mucoid plaque from the belly of humans. The red apple is cooked. The tree of knowledge is wood for fire. Jason Smith says Osiris is green due to him being a god of fertility, and semen is red because she represented death, anger, etc. Lethal Outdoors says great hat, Sissy, mate. Thanks so much, Lethal. Yeah, it's a nice hat. Jason Smith, he didn't answer my question. Sorry, Jason. I must have missed it. And it does scroll up randomly. It doesn't scroll up evenly. It just pops up. And then I have to find it. And I miss it. I miss it. Sorry. Yeah, nice. So XX Trav Demanx XX, sup man, sup. Teutonic Trickster says that hat seems like it needs a mosquito net to go. You know, in Central Australia, they're walking around the mosquito nets. Yeah. Jason Smith says, do you like let's scroll down. Do you like Doors? If so, what's your favorite song? I'm out of questions. My favorite Doors songs. Yeah, I really do like the Doors. Yeah, probably Break On Through. Light My Fire. That's the one. Yeah, that's a good one. Teutonic Trickster, it's great. Not knocking it at all, mate. Rudy Marley Skit says Howard Carter was a specialist in creating tomb art, just like he found in Tutankhamun tomb, along with the mask with bolts and welding marks. Lowlands Pete says the English Channel is 12,000 years old and it was connected with the mainland. Interesting. Storm of Darkness says Gibber means front porch. Forget to mention, sorry. Damien Liebuster says, hi, Doc. Any archaeological finds coming out of that building work going on around Mecca's Kaaba? Or are they bothering? Really? They're building around? Okay, I'll tell you something about Mecca. According to ancient tradition, there is a polygonal floor underneath Mecca. Polygonal floor. So it's an ancient site. But I have to start to agree with what I've seen from that bloke who said it wasn't Mecca, it was Becca. Yeah, that's really interesting. All the early mosques point to Becca, which was the name eludes me. That beautiful place out in the desert where the Indiana Jones movie was at, with that rock cut tomb. Yeah, who knows? You know. Yeah, who knows about that? Interesting. Darling Park Flat Earth Fountain in Sydney. Google it. Darling Path Flat Earth Fountain. The bizarre tale of the Flat Earth Convention that fell apart. This is a story of how Australia's first Flat Earth Conference fell apart. Death threats, arson attempt. This conference destroyed itself from the inside out. So basically, some bloke won £500 and a lifetime of death threats and litigation from the people who claimed he cheated. Damn, that's a bit of a thing there. Damn, what are we getting into? Why am I looking this up? Yeah. Okay. So Charles, you rock. Thank you for this stream. Thanks, Count. Yeah, it's nice having you too. Queen, blessings to you, Doctor. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much, Queenie. You're such a good contributor, as you all are. Rudy Marley skit. Things turn into stone. Jason Smith. Do you watch Lindy Bay? No, I don't. Count. I turn to stone. When you are gone, I turn to stone. Nice. Lowlands Pete. Hunabeds are linked to the Beaker people, but many think they are much older. The Mountain says you should do ancient site tours. Count me in. I might do that. Jennifer Glenn, thanks so much for your contribution. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Yeah. Carlo Ciotti. Ciao. Hey, Carlo. Jason Smith. I meant Sekmed. Rudy Marley skit. The green man is the sun. Our sun is a green man. Indeed. Kid Mac, what's your favorite site that you haven't visited outside of any South American site? Great Pyramid. What else? Thomas says, sir, if you need assistance, I would be honored to be a moderator for you. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll. You are now the your moderator. Thank you so much, Thomas. James Smith says, woo. Carlo Ciotti says, Cepesse se io sono italiano. Nice. Jason Smith says, I like Crystal Ship. It taught me to tell how to spell crystal. Storm of Darkness, Green Wood Man, the Prince of the Forest, Dear Connection, Odin, Simple Man. He's like 20 minutes behind. Sorry. Bad Bug. Yeah, the stream is up to date. Hey, the future, the past says shalom. Hello. Storm of Darkness. Becca, interesting. Reincarnation urns. That's right. I mean, Becca was Becca. So Becca was first mosque. So Becca, the most ancient name for Mecca. So who knows? The problem is faith and history are two different things, aren't they? They're almost like two different worlds, two different universes. I don't want to talk too much about it. Yeah, it's not a good topic. So Darkside says, interesting. Hunabedin are formed with green and red stones. Yes, you saw the video. So some stones are green looking, so green man stones, and some stones are red looking. Who's the red? Loki, the earth god. Mixing them together. It's like a pyramid and they're also on an elevated plateau, which is shaped like a snake. Just like the Giza Plateau is an elevated plateau, and the pyramids are on in Egypt along the Nile like a snake. Snake religion is the pyramid religion because the snake god is the god who came down from heaven, the fallen angel. Yeah. So Jason says, boobs or butts? Stop not reading my question. Sorry. Thomas, good morning to everyone. Welcome to the chat. And Lethal is speaking Italian. Rudy says yes. Storm of Darkness, Pillars of Hercules are entrance to Atlantis, Gibraltar, 2 spots on Earth. S. Kamako says societies as well as individuals rise in the knowledge of the 7 Hermetic principles. Interesting. Rudy Marley skit. I think I'm up to date now, aren't I? I'm pretty much up to date. Rudy Marley skit says fascinating. Carlo says, ma non capisco niente. Hey, that means you were speaking no good Italian, Lethal. No good. Or is it? I don't know. Ryan says the public fear of yeah. See, I can't even talk about it, but that's okay. You know, it's better not to. It's better not to. Jason says he didn't answer. Jesus Christ, Jason, ask me again. I'll answer. Leaf flat door. Yes, I'm all caught up. Yes. Any other questions? Ask me questions. Otherwise, I'm going to look up archaeology news and blah, blah, blah that. So, I'm not sleepy yet. my room's full of bugs. I don't want to go in there. Like, I don't want to get any more bites. You know, like, damn. You know. Yeah. 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 Now it's moving. Okay. So, yeah. There we go. So, there we go. Jason says boobs or butts. Maybe a bit of both. Are you asking me my personal preference? A bit of both. Yeah. Yeah. They're quite useful, both of them actually. Yeah. I wouldn't want to see someone with just one or the other. You know? So Queen Bee says, would you please cover the ore mining of North America? Sure, why not? One day, yeah. That was very comprehensive. According to 19th century estimates, you know, tens of millions of pounds of weight were dug up out of these mines around Michigan, around that area. And this was 19th century estimates. And then the problem is, in the 19th century, 18th century, new entrepreneurs moved in on the ancient sites and dug them out even further. And so lots of those ancient sites are just now inside modern works. So unfortunately, it's a bit hard to navigate around there to see what's ancient, what's not, I guess. O'Connor says, I had my first DMT smoke, aside from ayahuasca, a couple of days ago. Oh, this is like Graham Hancock stuff, isn't it? And was fascinated by the thought that ancient elongated skull people were in the super mind state 24/7. Oh, God knows what was going on in their high IQ heads. Just unbelievable. Like, wow, you know. Yeah. I guess they were just unbelievable people. So Spazaz666 says, are you going to visit Saudi Arabia since they've announced they're opening up travel? If not, where are you planning to travel? So Saudi Arabia, in the 19th century, they had the 18th century, they had a sect which said, we don't want any historical stuff, so we're going to demolish it. So being a historian, I don't know if I want to travel there, you know. Kid Max says, South African stone circles. The South African stone circles. So this is the territory of Mr. South Africa, South African stone circles. And what was his name? His name was Michael Tellinger. And he'd written books on this, stone circles and ancient gold mines. And he's showing these stone fortresses. And I see someone, they're even linked up like a chain or something, which is interesting. And they say, are these corrals for horses or something, or what's going on? And didn't he say they were hundreds of thousands of years old? You know, to me, they look like, you know what they look like? Like they're medicine wheels, aren't they? Are these medicine wheels like you get in America? And this Tellinger, I remember, like, I saw him with the huge footprint, that huge footprint, and I think, is that real? It is real, and just incredible what's going on there. And yeah, oh, there we go. South African. Okay, there's a stone circle in South Africa. I found one that looks like it's exactly like a stone circle in Ireland. Let's have a look at this when my internet catches up. Oh, is it a newish one, or? Yeah, what's going on there? I don't know. There's just a photo, but there's no information. Oh, it looks like a rectangle or something, or a house. Anyway, yeah. So, So Jason Smith says, yes, I answered your question. Yes. So at last, so Leaf Light Doors, Charles, you gotta write down topics to come when you're caught up. Okay, good. Okay, that's. Oh, there we go. Oh, Jason Smith, I die happy death. Cheers, Jason. Yeah, I can vote. Okay, so Storm of Darkness. So Rudy Marlius says, okay, wood turning to stone. Stone carved buildings have been flooded and acted like a mineral filter and left stone behind. To be brief, I can explain better. Jason says, I'm done. Goodbye, Sanyara. Peace in the Middle East. Nice. Joe says, what sparked your interest for researching history so deeply? Can you remember who or what it was? Yeah, maybe it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it was so amazing. There was just such an amazing movie. And I was even watching a clip earlier on, and I was thinking, damn, they really did that so well, you know, with the student batting her eyelids at Indy, and then that scene with Brody and all that in the university. And I got to say, even his desk in that lecture is done by an interior decorator. It's all done by all the sets are interior decorators. Even though there's this desk and these lecturing, yeah, that's an interior decorator as well. You can see the way everything's laid out. It's so nice. Like not like you got all these artifacts and stuff. Like what the hell? No university desk has artifacts on it. Anyway, yeah. So alternatives for life says, can you consider that humans were not created in Africa or the world, but came about all over the world? Absolutely. But you know what? How could that be? There must be an original point. But what is that original point? There is no original point. Do you know why there's no original point? Because there's no fossils from that original point, because it was too long ago. Ergo, humans are billions of years old, which is what I think. I think humans are billions of years old. And the last bipedal creature which preceded us was a kind of bird brain T-Rex, but it had a larger brain than a T-Rex. They say birds have human intelligence, or we have bird intelligence. We are sort of like a bird mammal in a way. We're like a bird. We're forward-facing 2 legs. How many mammals are forward-facing 2 legs? Not many. We're very bird-like in a way. The birds must have been the previous bipedals, and then maybe they had arms as well. I don't know. Yeah. So interesting. David Hill says, please explain how they changed the calendar dates from, say, 3500 BC to 2019 AD. That's very interesting. To 2019. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? Teutonic Trickster says, have you seen the Colossus in Italy, the stone-bearded giant? They say it's only a few hundred years old. Mud fossil enthusiasts would agree, I think. I'm on the fence with mud fossils. So I'm going to look up Colossus in Italy mud fossil right now, and we'll answer that question. 16th century Colossus sculpture in Florence. I see, it's a sort of leg kind of thing. It's a real mess. By Guillaume Bologna. Is this artist? Is that the one? Oh no, there's another one there. Giant pre-flood Titan. Yeah, I see what you mean. The one with Roger Spur. So it's supposedly a 1500 sculpture, and Roger Spur seems to be saying it's a mud fossil of a giant. It looks very lifelike to me. I don't know. I would imagine it's a sculpture though. But yeah, wow, he looks almost real, doesn't he? And he's even got it looks like he's been turned to stone. I got to say, yeah. Your take on Darwinism? Darwinism is really cool, but the problem is the Darwinists themselves. They don't want to change, do they? They don't want to change. They don't want to get into the 21st century. So I think it's going to be a bit of a mix with Lamarckianism and Darwinism, a bit of both, plus telepathy. A bit of telepathy is involved as well. And DNA acts like a virus, modifying itself all the time. It's more DNA that's doing the evolving that's evolving the species rather than strict natural selection, I think. Yeah. So Rudy says, nothing stone carved, it's concrete, geopolymers and woods, etc. It's all turned to stone quicker and more recent than we can imagine. Storm of Darkness says, all the star turning 360-degree around one star, all rings circles. Thomas says, how do you feel about the second interstellar object we have spotted like a year ago? Oumuamua. Oumuamua was that Rama thing. Yeah. So it's literally out of Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama, a cylindrical shaped object. Let's see what it looks like. Why is it shaped like that? Why would it be shaped? You know what it's shaped like? It's shaped like a flint blade. It looks like a big, fat flint blade. Why is it a pancake? Oh, I see. It's a disc. Maybe it formed the way Saturn formed, it was spinning and flattened out with the electric universe stuff. What was it? The field or something flattened it out. Maybe electric universe. Yeah, interesting. Ken Breckhart says, hopeful for the topic about the Dacians, Thracians. Aren't they amazing? I'd love to go to Bulgaria one day and check out the ancient art treasures they have there, yeah. ICQ says, sorry, Dr. Cost got a phone call. No worries, mate. We're all good. Storm of Darkness says, the original point is about speech. Who started to speak first? They were all already here, first breath. Oh, I see what you mean. I guess the Neanderthals. So it's really amusing because in what's his face's book, Graham Hancock's book, Untangled, and it's about this Cro-Magnon girl. So it's about this human girl, and she takes the ayahuasca to put herself in the ancient body of the first Cro-Magnon woman, who then goes around trying to save the Neanderthal tribe from the other bad Cro-Magnons. And the Neanderthals only communicate by telepathy, and they never fight back because they're too gentle. And I don't believe that for a minute, because if you look at if you study phrenology and you look at the Neanderthal skull, it's a brute. It's a brute. It's a very bad animal, the Neanderthal. And I think, and also the Neanderthals, they don't talk in Hancock's book, but for sure they talk. For sure they talk. All animals talk. There's no such thing as they don't talk. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. If you don't talk, you don't survive. Yeah. So the Neanderthals were speaking before us, and they're old. Maybe they're older than us. And Neanderthal is just a huge. It's like a giant version of Lucy. It's like a giant chimpanzee with a giant skull. That's what a Neanderthal is. It's the same skull. The same skull since Lucy. You look at every hominid, it's always the same skull, just getting bigger and bigger. And then suddenly, wham, we've got this skull with this sort of thing happening. So what's going on? Something weird. Something like we've mixed with something else that wasn't there before. So, Darkside says, I can't find a lot of books in English. Are there any good English books on the topic? Yes. Wait. I'll be back in a second. I'll show you. Yeah. Yeah, so I've just finished reading this one here that my girlfriend sent me. So this was a megalithic research in the Netherlands, and she said it's the only one she could find that's in English. And I made lots, and it's a history of archaeology into the Hunebedden. So if you want to get a book on the Hunebedden, that is the book in English. That is the one. That's all right. So it's a good book. Yeah, it's a nice book. It's a lovely book. Just a lovely book. Yeah. So. That's right. So, speaking of giants, any thoughts on the Darcians? Just started learning about them. The Darcy. We covered that. Okay. So, question: moon crater. So, ever noticed how perpendicular the impacts are? Enjoy your enthusiasm, Doc. I know F18 is interrupting my 4G today. Yeah, this was Wise Up, and also Wise Up did this, and someone else did it as well, didn't they? Was it? Didn't Mud Fossil University cover this earlier as well? I can't quite remember. Apparently, they've been done to death, and apparently they're impacts rather than volcanoes. But I do think they're volcanoes, I'm going to say, and. The other thing is Velikovsky said they were volcanoes. He looked at the moon and he said those are volcanoes. He didn't say they were impacts. He said those are volcanoes. And they were activated by the moon coming closer to another object. It activated the geomagnetics inside that all erupted at once. Yeah. Ever heard of the Danube Valley civilization? No, I haven't heard of that as a civilization, but we're talking almost Balkans, aren't we? Danube Valley civilization. So we're talking almost the Vinca area, aren't we? So Danubian culture, yeah. 5,000, this is old Europe, the old Europe culture, and this culture is basically a triple goddess worshipping culture. I think they went off, I wrote in my pyramids book, I think this culture went into Egypt and they built the triple pyramid after the triple goddess. That's why 3 pyramids. It's based on the triple goddess. It's not 3 tombs for 3 kings. This is rubbish. It's tomb theory is right. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. The tomb theory is the worst rubbish ever. It's the worst rubbish ever. It's just so trash. It's just such a trashy idea. It's I don't know what they're smoking. Anyway, so Kevin Brown, hello from Arizona. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, David Hill says, did the ancient people carve on their stone artifacts, say 3,500 BC, and keep going to 0? Or did we just change it to fit our 0 to the present date? So no, Do you know how ancient dates work? How ancient dates work is it's always been in the year of the king, and with Jesus it changed to in the year of the Lord, in the year of God. So year it always started from year one. There was never a zero. It always started from year one. So year one of Augustus. So for example, in when Jesus was born, what would they say? Year one of Augustus. Year. So we look up Augustus Caesar reign, and so he was the imperator god Filius Augustus from 27 BC until his death in AD 14. So if Jesus was born in 0, what would we say? We would say it's the year 28, probably 28, I guess, of Augustus. So Jesus was born in the year 28, and the rest of it was in the 6th century. The AD system was 6th century, guys. It was AD year system. It was the funny thing is, this happened during the Dark Ages. The Anno Domini happened it was ascribed by Dionysius Exiguus of Scythia Minor. Where the hell is Scythia Minor? It was the Danube. Oh, we're talking Danube, Black Sea civilization. Okay. It was a guy in Ukraine invented the AD system in the year 525. There you go. Crazy. Yeah. So simple. Have you done any hallucinogens, Charles, or any drugs? Not really. No comment. Jason Smith. I'm back. Do you think Hitler's dead? Do you think Levi's is dead? What, the jeans? Oh, people are just wearing any jeans at the moment. Do you think Hitler's dead? Probably, because even if he went to Argentina, he'd be a very old man. He would have to have the genetic engineering and all this stuff, and we don't even have that for rich people. So why would he have it? Yeah. So Lorraine Green says, could Balfell in the Lake District, England, be an ancient pyramid? Balfell in the Lake District. Okay, Balfell Lake District. Google amazing. Balfell. Oh, it's one word, Balfell. It looks like a mountain to me. Let's look at the topographic map. And it's not very pyramid. I see. It might look like a pyramid. It's actually. Oh, I see. It's got this ridge which points exactly north-south for many meters. Where's the scale? For many meters, which is odd, but does not look like a pyramid. Oh, in some ways it does look like a long rectangular pyramid in a way, but not from the south corner. So that's the southeast corner is a bit of a problem. It's jutting out too much for it to be a pyramid, but who knows? Maybe like the Bosnian pyramids. Yeah. And Lorraine says, check out the Great Slab. It feels like a structure as you walk down it. That's very interesting. Very interesting. So much stuff, even in the UK. Yeah. So simple man. Jason Smith said, a Storm of Darkness says, if you were at Hunebedden, the province down south, Drenthe, Twente, Brabant, Velta, translated 3-2 abracadabra, where there. Nice. Jason Smith, do you think Khufu made the pyramids, and how old do you think they are? No, I don't think Khufu made the pyramids, and I think they're very ancient, and I think they were appropriated by Stone Age's peoples as the triple goddess, or mainly rebuilt by Stone Age's peoples, maybe mixing with the Inca people. But I do think they're 100 grand years old, and they were the interferometer for sure. They were an interferometer. That's what they are. And they're based on people who inherited the knowledge of the lost super civilization. But here's another thing: because they were honoring the ancient astronaut as well, Khnum, they also had to make it technological because he was a god of technology. So they made the pyramid as technological as possible to honor him, and that's a bit of inconvenient for us as well. So who knows? Yeah, Darkside. Thank you, Dr. Cos. Thank you, Darkside. Jason Smith, do you think the Earth is flat? Unfortunately, not. No, I think it's round. Unfortunately, I don't want to be smarty pants, but there's so much evidence. There's so much evidence. Yeah, I said to someone, "Isn't flat Earth a comfort zone?" And they were like, "Well, isn't round Earth a comfort zone?" And I was like, well, yeah, maybe, but there's just so much evidence, Yeah. Um, yeah. So, Charmaine Osborne, do you think Peruvian history was hijacked by religious nuts? I definitely think yes. It was destroyed. It was ruined, unfortunately, wasn't it? Uh, Darkseid says, "I guess Hitler would be dead now." I totally agree with you. I think he's. I think he's baked the cake. He's baked the cake. He's baked his last cake. Yeah. Derp says, "Yeah, I love you too, Derp." Yes. Darkseid says, "Everything will get hijacked by religious nuts." Lol. Chutonic Trickster says, "My friend um, thinks Earth is either flat, a dome, or a realm. I think it's both round and hollow at the poles. He's smarter than me, but has better arguments against mine. Not fun, but funny. Interesting." Jason keeps saying I meant Elvis. What do you mean you meant Elvis? What is there? You think Levi's is dead? You think Elvis is dead? Um, yeah, for sure. Because look, did you see how fat he was in his final concert? He was really packing on the kilos. Like you have to be. He was drinking coke all the time. He was stressed out. His greedy managers and all these Memphis people were pushing him along and saying, "You got to do this for us. You got to do that for us." And he was like, he wasn't enjoying his work, so maybe he was retreating into, the drugs. Yeah. Joe says, "Have you read Terence McKenna's book, Flesh of the Gods?" I got a whole library of books, but unfortunately, I haven't got nothing from Terence McKenna. I've got other authors, there are lots of other authors, but there's just so many these days. Terence McKenna, who's got time to read them? I used to read all the time, but unfortunately not. The book you say it's called Flesh of the Gods. Oh, is it Food of the Gods? You said it's called Flesh of the Gods. Flesh of the Gods. Let's see what Amazon has to say. Food, no, it was maybe Food of the Gods. Yeah, and that's got how many reviews has that got? It's got like 230 reviews. The Search for the Original Tree of Knowledge: A Radical History of Plants, Drugs, and Human Evolution. So that's saying that that mushroom, is that the ayahuasca mushroom, the red cap mushroom with the white dots. I know this theory. It's saying the Bible is based on that. That's the speaking in tongues, and that's all that. You know what? That's got something going for it, because you see what those girls did at Salem. Those girls did at Salem, eating the moldy bread, and all that hysteria that was kicked up. Maybe it contributed in a way. I mean, it's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. Yeah. Jason says, do you think Hitler didn't kill himself? You know what, Jason? I think he did, but isn't it really interesting to think that maybe he didn't? And what's all these boys from Brazil stuff? They're all living in Argentina, and that movie, and there was a whole thing about him escaping and all this. But the problem is, lots of these top Nazis, they did not say that he escaped. All the top Nazis said he died, and they accepted that he died. So the escaped Hitler thing, it's all based on my uncle's friend met someone back in 1965, and he was convinced that guy was Hitler. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Like, even that guy, Otto Skorzeny. See, Otto Skorzeny with the scar. He said that Hitler told him Hitler had nuclear weapons. I think the hydrogen bomb was the Hitler one, and the uranium bomb was the American one. The reason for that is, the Germans are more technical. They do everything as technical as they can, even if it delays putting it onto the field. All their tanks, their planes were like that. They love technicality. The Russians, and the Americans as well, they prefer just rugged simplicity, the Russians and the Americans, and the British as well. So what happened was, if we have a really technical bomb and a really simple bomb, well, that doesn't make any sense. The technical one must have been the German one, and they got it from the Germans. That's why they only had it after they defeated the Germans, and then the uranium one was the American one. I think that's what's going on. And Skorzeny said Hitler told him he had bombs, and no one pays any attention. But no one said Hitler survived the bunker. So why pay that any attention? You know what I mean? What do you think? Yeah. Yeah. Barbara says, fascinating morning. I watched all your videos. Wow, that's a lot of videos. Thank you, Barbara. Wow. Yeah. Tobu says, what do you think about Trace Smith? I don't know who Trace Smith is. Let me look up Trace Smith. Trace Smith is he's an actor, son of Will Smith. Oh, he died. Was it drugs or something? Damn. I don't know anything about him, unfortunately. Damn. Yeah, that's a pity. Yeah. Storm of Darkness says, Hiaute, Celtic Grave Hills. Tuatde is a 11 tribe. Hiawatha is a Native American hero. That sounds like Hawaiian stuff almost, like Pacific stuff. Teutonic Trickster says, come to Adelaide and I will take you to Chinatown in the Central Markets to get a deep fried peanut butter sandwich. We can eat the Elvis diet for a day. Thanks for the invite. I'll consider it. Jason Smith, who do you hate the most? That would be a political thing, but I ain't going to talk politics, no way, because politics is like personality. Like, you're talking politics, you're saying my personality is better than someone else. I don't want to do that. Sherman Osborne says, Akakor. Steve Christie says, how many times do you think civilization has been reset? Well, thousands of times. Million. You know what? If humans are 1 billion years old, how about 1 million times? Storm of Darkness. A manna eat muscaria. It is the world tree. Amanita muscaria, the pine branch kiss, grows in symbiosis with the tree of Maya. Pineapples are like dragon eggs, good fire starters too. Oh, they sure are. That's a good camping trick as well. To light the wood. Yeah, yeah, interesting. Extracts. Hey, Extracts. One says, "What's your take on the orange orbs?" Oh, they're the UFOs. Orange orbs are UFOs, and they glow like the sun. Chicky Rogue says, "No, you are wrong. The CIA has released documents that say that he lived, had children around the whole 9 yards." Oh, fair enough. Lorraine Green says, Nazis were all Templar funded. They had the gold in Swiss banks. Jason Smith says, you know, the Swiss banks, they're totally a myth because people even use them for tax evasion, supposedly, and stuff. But so, you know, Paul Hogan, the chucker prawn on the Barbie, do you know, did you read up what happened to him? He put his money, his tens of millions of dollars, instead of paying the tax to the Australian whatever government, and he put that into it was a Swiss account, but the only way to hide it is to just put it in someone else's name. So he put it in someone else's name, and the fella said, "Oh, I've suddenly got all this money in my account. Guess it's mine." So allegedly, Paul Hogan lost like most of his fortune to this. You know, he was trying to save the money, and then they had the divorce. You know, with Linda. Very sad. Yeah. Yeah, the Swiss are that's just a scam, that whole banking thing. Yeah. Anyway, do you think, yeah, okay. So they found, Chicky Rogue says they found him in the 50s, but whatever. Hey, I'm not saying you're wrong. Like, you know, maybe, you know, maybe. Spazas 666. What are some cool ancient places to visit in the Americas besides Bolivia, Peru? What other megalithic sites are there? Yes, go to the top of a hill fort in the USA and you might see megalithic stones. So I went to the top of a hill fort in Ohio and there happened to be a fortress there. It wasn't megalithic. It was just made from shingles, kind of like Nan Madol, but it wasn't on any map. It's not a known site. There's millions of sites that no one knows about. I guess I would visit mounds if I was in USA. If I was in Canada, I'd be stuffed. I'd go look for Ogopogo. I wouldn't know what else to look for. If I was in Mexico, I'd look for pyramids. Just pyramids, you know. You might see megalithic stones at pyramids. There's a bit too much attention on Peru because of Brian Forster, but I'm sure there'll be megalithic stones at Mexican pyramids. Yeah. Jason Smith, do you think Jim Morrison is dead? I don't know. I don't know, sir, about that one. Yeah. Shemayas said, yeah, Tritasia in Mexico. Alternatives for life. Vlad's amazing. Found what looked like lingams in Afghanistan and surrounding areas. These lingams are set up with rough rock forming the shape. There is also one in the US. Thoughts? So the lingam is basically a penis, and the penis religion was the Aryan religion, the Central Asian religion. The Khazars worshipped the penis until they switched to Judaism. very interesting. But so did all the Central Asians. It was universal, and in India they still do. And yeah, it's really interesting. If it was in the US, could we be talking about maybe Solomon's empire put them there back in the day under the Phoenicians who worshipped the pillars? Scratch has joined us. It's Charlie Boyle. Hey, Charles. Hey, Scratch. Rick Hansen. In Boys from Brazil, there were a bunch of clones. How much worse is that than the original surviving? Hey, I'm not saying it didn't happen. Like, you're right. Like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, there's something going on there. There's something going on for sure. Mr. Cat Companion, veganism, Pythagoreanism. What do you think? It's interesting. Was Pythagoras a vegan? I wasn't aware of this. Is veganism and Pythagoreanism, you know what? Why would you say that all the world is number unless you are not having a spiritual experience? And veganism, if you're doing some kind of Hindu thing and starving yourself, you will have. If you starve yourself for just one day, you start to have spiritual experiences. Because everything's a bit funny, and you start to see the colors brighter, and the body's switching on more to get you to find food and eat, and you start having these spiritual experiences. And maybe they're mixed in with the Pythagoreans for sure. Bilberry Karia, Dr. Charles, did you heard about Maldek, originally fifth planet of solar system? I haven't heard about Maldek. This is Sakurai Sitchin stuff. I've only read his 12th planet. I haven't got on to the other books just yet. Storm of Darkness. Giants are mushrooms, tiny trees that are the biggest, the biggest rulers. Very interesting. So this Trey Smith, not Will Smith's son. Search Trey Smithy Jurassic. Okay, I'll do it. Trey Smith Jurassic. This is about the dinosaurs. Trey Smith is a writer and director known for Nephilim, Origin of Genetic Evil, 2013. Nephilim, The Truth, 2013, and Noah, The Journey Begins and Ends, 2014. So he was a producer, and he made 3 films back in the day. And he's still making filmography. So he's making films. That's interesting. And yeah, he's got this IMDb page, and he made one about Hillary, 2016, The Prophecy of Trump, Entities, The Unveiling, Entities, The Beginning, Jurassic, Neff's documentary, Noah, The Journey Begins. Well, interesting, man. I haven't heard of that guy. Yeah, sounds interesting. Wow, like interesting. Yeah. Ricky Spence had his sexy. Gotta look for Bigfoot in Colorado. Nice. Russ Oz says all banks are a scam. Yeah, pretty much. Jason Smith, who's your favorite person? You are, Jason. Shermaine Osborne, have you read the Terror Papers? I have not. I've not heard of them either. Storm of Darkness. Google Ashkenazi. We're not going there. Teutonic Trickster, have you been or do you hope to visit the Gaia Retreat in Byron Bay? I hope you suss it up one day. I haven't heard of that. Yeah. Okay. Do you know how to do a Siberian knot? What's a Siberian knot? I'm going to look up Siberian knot. Okay, let's look up Siberian knot. How to tie Siberian hitch. It looks almost, but it's more complicated than the Keeper stuff. But it looks a bit different to me. But I don't know if it's similar. No, I don't know how to do knots, unfortunately. You know, I've got 2 ropes on my desk, and since I was about 5 years old, I've been telling myself I'm going to learn to tie these knots, and I haven't quite found time to do it yet. To start playing with them. Oh well. Thomas says, everyone make sure to watch all the interesting videos Dr. Koss has made available to us, covering many subjects and ideas. Thank you so much, Thomas. I wish YouTube would give me more airplay. Lately, they've been a bit dodgy to me, actually. I've got to say, they're not pushing my videos forward as they used to. So I'm a bit angry with YouTube. I'm angry with YouTube, unfortunately, you know. But what can you do? You know, that's the way it is. Up and down, like the share market, right? Yeah. Lorraine says, what's your take on astrology? And do you believe that precession is due to the Earth's wobble or because our solar system is traveling through the galaxy? Probably a bit of both. And there's a lot more going on with orbital knots and all this as well. You know what? It's hard to say. I can't say because, you know, Fred Hoyle, he said the Milankovitch cycles don't cause the Ice Age. If you look up if you look up Milankovitch cycles on Wikipedia, I'm pretty sure it will say they caused the Ice Age. And he said, well, how can they cause the Ice Age? Because they're always ongoing all the time. We can't tell what's what. And what he said was, it doesn't affect the amount of incidental solar radiation hitting the Earth. So it doesn't matter what the hell the Milankovitch cycles are doing. They're not going to cause an Ice Age at all. So what the hell is going on with people saying they're causing an Ice Age? This is what Fred Hoyle said. What Fred Hoyle, Nobel Prize nominee. Was he a winner? I'm not sure. Fred Hoyle, but great mathematician, amazing mathematician, formed the theory of stellar nuclear synthesis. And so yeah, I can't say anything in answer to your question, unfortunately. It's just so complicated. Yeah. So anyway, flavor pro Jennifer Jarvis. But is it a penis or the egg of all origin? Maybe a spaceship. Are you talking about that thing in outer space? Yeah, I guess so. John James says stuff. Molecular engineering and the fall from the brain of Eden. Tony Wright, read it. Rodney Thomas says, are the Basques the forefathers of the Irish and the Welsh? And if so, where are the Basques from? No, I think the Basques are something. The Basques are, I'm going to look up Basque people and I'll see what they look like. I'll tell you. Basque people. And you tell me who you think they look like. I'm looking them up. They better not be pictures. I want to see like Basque villages. No, I want to see remote Basque people. Oh, there we go. I want to see them in a village. What do they look like? Okay, they look like they have faces like ancient Greeks. Very straight like there. Very straight. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There's some more. They look like ancient Greeks. And they dress a bit like Greeks, actually. That's very interesting. Okay. Well, that confuses the situation since they're not really an Indo-European language, are they? I don't know who they are. Well, they're old European, aren't they? That's this is a mystery. This is a real mystery here. Yeah. Okay. No, they're not Irish or Welsh. The Welsh are North Africans. The Welsh are partly North Africans. Like lots of them have afros and stuff. Tom Baker, the Doctor Who, with an afro. They're almost Libyan. They're a mixture of Libyan. Yeah, for sure. And the Irish are partly Celtic Spanish as well. But for sure, maybe some of those Dubliners are Basque. Maybe those are Basques. Yeah. Because they're quite different to the Viking Irish, yeah. So where were we? Adult archaeology, trademark that, Dr. Yeah. Chicky Rogue says, not a good Boy Scout, can't tie knots. Chicky Rogue also says your recent stuff was excellent. Thank you very much, Chicky Rogue. Thank you very much. Joe Butter says. Riverbanks were the original banks used to store vast valuables. The reason why they're named riverbanks. Oh, I didn't know that. That's very interesting. They maybe altered the path of the river or something to hide the treasure, kind of like how they buried Ulrich. Ulrich was buried. They put him in a lead coffin and a gold coffin and a silver coffin and this coffin and that coffin, altered the course of the river to put it over the top of his grave. And they killed all the people who dug the grave. So no one would ever find his grave. So if someone wants to find Ulrich's grave, they can do that. Or was it Attila? I think it was Ulrich. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. That's right. Sherman Osborne, what do you think of the official organizations that hide artifacts from the public? I think they're pretty bad. I even see these British museums making YouTube videos and stuff, and I think, I don't really like them so much, anything that's official, I don't really like it too much. I have to say, I've always been a bit rebellious. So, yeah. Flavor pro Jennifer Jarvis. We have to consider, though, that the lingam was older than maybe the word itself. Maybe the representation of it means something else, and more modern people just called it a lingam. Yes, indeed. Storm of Darkness. Giants from the Nephilim of the Nebula. Miss mushrooms from the swamp. A swamp is called a moor. Interesting. Axtrax. Do you watch the big UFC show in Melbourne Saturday? You could start an MMA chat channel too. I saw something on the wrestling. Is that what you're talking about, or was that something else? Boxing. UFC is probably boxing, right? I didn't watch it. Dark Side. Did the Aryans study the stars? For sure, for sure. Nothing springs to mind like there being stellar regarding them, except for maybe, I suppose, the layout of their destroyed temples. Unfortunately, they're all destroyed, I guess. Yeah. Thomas, chatware, is everyone listening from LA here? Nice. LA, hey LA. Cisco, I'm in Austin, Texas. Nice. Hello, Austin. Raz Oz says, it's true. I hit the bell and your vids never show up anymore. You hit the bell and they don't show up. Damn. Yeah. And that's happened since March. Since March, I used to put the video up and there'd be an explosion of interest. And I'd get all these comments from people saying, you're an idiot. You're clueless. You don't know what you're talking about. People had never seen my channel before. It was pushing them to new people. Since March, it's only you guys that are commenting, no new people. So, yeah, it's not being pushed out. So someone at YouTube has seen some stuff and they wrongly thought that I'm talking stuff I shouldn't be talking about. But that's not true at all. I'm just being a scientist, just talking new theories, right? Yeah, I'm allowed to be a scientist. There's nothing wrong with that. And people are very interested in this stuff. So, yeah, come on, YouTube. Yeah, come on. Yeah. So, Arkansas here. Hello, Shermanator from Arkansas. Nice. Eddie Driftwood, hello from Ireland. Yeah, nice. Awesome. John James, how does the vacuum of space exist side by side with Earth's atmosphere? That's a good question. How does it exist side by side? I guess the top of the atmosphere is almost vacuum-like. I guess it disperses slowly. But it doesn't seem that way. When you look at a photograph, you see the blue. And does the blue fade out? I'm going to check that now. Is there a border? So Earth from space, atmosphere. Is there a border? I'm just going to have a look. Because that's an interesting question. I see. There is an initial border, which is light blue, and then it sort of decreases gradually after that until it fades out. So there is a border which looks like the top of maybe the stratosphere, and after that there's an ionic-looking purple border, which is, I guess, it's fading out slowly. But what's lighting it up? I guess it's lighting up the gas particles, and they're just flying off into space. Yeah, that's a very good question. Interesting. Yeah, Eddie, hello from Ireland. I think I've said that. Yeah. So what's going to happen? Scratch says, what's going to happen once the pole reversal happens? You know what? I think it's going to flip flop, isn't it? It's going to there'll be a pole. Maybe that'll cause a pole shift, because what else is going to cause the pole shift? And then, or a space object causing the pole shift? I don't know. Yeah, weird. So Rick says the Basques form a portion around France and Aquitaine. Interesting. Tober71 says, what do you think when they say the moon rings like a bell? That was in the Soviet, wasn't that in the Soviet thing? And they said the moon rings like a bell. And now David Icke is saying that he says the moon rings like a bell, people. And he says the moon is not what we think. And he says it might be a spaceship, and he was ridiculed on Australian TV. Check that out on YouTube. It's very funny. The morons on Australian Channel 9, on the Today show in the morning, they totally trashed him. And the woman said, "Do you think the moon was brought in by trucks?" And so he started trashing them back, and then they got a bit insulted that he got to have a say as well. Very interesting. That funny. Yeah, Chicky Reg says they want uniformity. Yeah, they do. Like it's interesting. Yeah. Oh, Sherman says when they shut down G Plus, that's what really stopped the sharing of YouTube videos. I see. Yeah, maybe that contributed. Who knows? Yeah, YouTube keeps changing. It's always different. It's always it's not what it was. It's not what it was before. It's so different. Yeah. Flavor Pro Jennifer Jarvis says, I found a copy online that appears to be the full book plus the Aftermath Part 2 book. I'm reading the second. Oh, that was what you mentioned earlier. Nice. Rick Hansen says, maybe space is not a vacuum. It might be a substance, but nobody knows what it is or how to describe it properly. Thomas Dorsey says, Flavor Pro, please share the site or info with us. Yeah. Scratch says, yep. Flood? Good thoughts. Polygon. Polygon. 100,000 miles per hour winds will wipe the planet clean, a total reset. Yeah, if there's a pole shift. So Velikovsky pointed out in one of his books from the 50s, these mammoths in the Arctic were literally all collected together in one place, crammed together and squashed up together as if something like that had happened. So there will be a total reset. This is what the Egyptians mentioned. Terrible to think that we could have a space age civilization. We could take over the whole solar system, and then a pole shift could happen and wipe us clean. Oh, that's terrible. Damn. Yeah, Scratch says I'm obsessed with the pole reversal stuff. I don't blame you. It's so interesting. You know, I think Charles Hapgood and the others had a real point with this. You know, yeah. Yeah, totally. Bad day for Earth, sure will be. Making those caves in Turkey. Yeah, the caves in Turkey, indeed. Those caves in Turkey. Back in the day, Eric, that was in Chariots of the Gods. Do you remember that program? That awesome movie? And the narrator said, "What are these caves for? Are they hiding from the people up there?" You know, interesting. Teutonic says, "I heard Trump bought Greenland. I don't know if it's true, but if he did, and there's a pole shift, it'll be the best real estate buy in history, as it will probably become warm and rich with life." Nice. Storm of Darkness. Schumann frequency rings like a bell. The Earth itself does ring. Ken Breckhart says, there's been a rash of many new Göbekli, another Göbekli Tepes. Yeah, these have been on CFAP's channel. I've noticed a few of them. I often don't watch his videos, unfortunately. They're rather long for me. I'm a very impatient person. I can't watch. This is a bit embarrassing. I don't watch many videos for that reason. Yeah. How many do you think archaeologists might still find? You know what? This another Göbekli Tepe thing. In Ireland, there's a on every mountain there is a tomb on every mountain, and this is what's in Turkey, a tomb on every mountain. There'll be one on every, as many mountains as there are in Turkey, there will be that many Göbekli Tepes. Joe says, share Dr. Charles' work with people you know will appreciate it. Many people just share it blindly, and that's mostly where the haters come from. With knowledge power comes great responsibility. Indeed. Yes, thank you. Scratch says the mammoths, I suppose, they froze in 2 hours, solid, 6-ton animal. And yeah, what caused that? That's scary, you know. And that happened when? 10,000 years ago, when the Ice Age ended. So it ended with a bang. Is it going to start with a bang and we're overdue for one? Are you kidding me? Something bad's going to happen. Yeah. Scratch said Hapgood did more harm than good. Chan Thomas has a more believable theory. You know more than me about this. Chan Thomas. I'm gonna have to. Chan Thomas. This is just so fascinating. The Adam. So he's an author, and he wrote the Adam and Eve story. It's bringing up Earth catastrophe stuff and all this. Very interesting. Very interesting. Cisco says the North Pole is speeding up. It's now moving at 40 kilometers per year. It is. That's more than I heard. So that means it's speeding up. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Storm of Darkness says Ragnarok, Armageddon, Amsterdam's Gothels Damarum, Amsterdam tree crosses back at the North Star. Yeah, it's very scary what could happen, and no one can ever be prepared for it. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen like that, and that's it. And it'll say, uh-oh. Yeah, damn. So Thomas says why are we not discovering more lost ancient sites with all new technology we have available to us today? or is it just not covered in the mainstream news? You know, I think a lot of this was already discovered by previous peoples, and they played with it and destroyed it and ruined it. Also, what happened, I believe, was it's going to be in very deep layers. It's going to be in super deep layers. So they'll find it in mines. So miners will be seeing these artifacts, not us, not archaeologists. What mine is going to invite archaeologists in? They'd have to be absolutely crazy. They're in that to make money. Mining is a very expensive business. You don't want to be a miner. So they will not increase their expenses. Oh no, no, that will not happen. No. Yeah, so Scratch says it's going to happen soon. I reckon by 2046, in my opinion. And he's referring to the pole reversal. Joe Buddha, do you have any other hobbies? What do you do when not researching? Oh, reading, fixing up my house. Yeah, doing that kind of thing.